The universe is not merely a scattering of stars, galaxies, and clusters painted across the black canvas of space. It is a story of structure, of hidden patterns, of unimaginable contrasts. Where some regions glow with the fire of a billion suns, others fall silent, their silence deeper than anything we have ever known. Tonight, we venture into one of those silences, a cosmic gulf so immense, so startling, that astronomers once struggled to accept it could even exist. It is called the Boötes Void, and it may be the largest nothing we have ever found. Picture the night sky as a great cosmic quilt, each stitch a galaxy, each thread a cluster, weaving together the large-scale fabric of the cosmos. For decades, astronomers believed this cosmic fabric was fairly uniform. Galaxies sprinkled almost evenly, separated by predictable stretches of intergalactic darkness. But when our instruments grew sharper and our surveys broader, we stumbled upon a puzzle that defied expectation. A hole, a region not dotted with galaxies, but nearly empty. A void so large that if you placed our entire Milky Way inside, you could fit it not once, not twice, but thousands of times over and still have room to spare. The Boötes Void spans nearly 330 million light-years across. To put that into perspective, imagine traveling at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second, through the heart of this void. Even at that impossible velocity, you would spend hundreds of millions of years just crossing its diameter. Within this vast cosmic desert, only a scattering of galaxies can be found. In fact, for a time, astronomers thought it was almost completely devoid of matter. It was nicknamed the Great Nothing. Yet the irony is that even in emptiness, there is something. The galaxies that do exist inside the Boötes Void appear lonely, stretched apart by cosmic expansion, their lights flickering across unimaginable distances. They sit like campfires scattered sparsely across a cold, infinite wilderness. Each one contains billions of stars, yet in their isolation, they seem fragile, tiny islands of something in an ocean of nothing. When astronomer Robert Kirshner and his colleagues first mapped this region in the 1980s, the scientific community was stunned. The discovery suggested that the universe was not a smooth distribution of matter at all, but a web-like structure. Galaxies gather along filaments and walls, while vast voids occupy the spaces in between. Imagine a sponge, its solid parts representing the dense regions of galaxies, and its hollow pores the voids. The Boötes Void is one of those pores, but one of such enormous proportions that it reshaped our very understanding of cosmic architecture. And here lies the wonder. The void is not simply an empty space. It is a relic of cosmic evolution, a fossil of how matter moved, collapsed, and clustered after the Big Bang. By studying it, astronomers gain a window into the primordial forces that shaped everything we know. But there is also a human element, a philosophical echo, when we confront such vastness. To look at the Boötes Void is to stare at an absence so absolute that it challenges our sense of belonging. We, creatures of atoms and starlight, are used to thinking of space as full of stars. Here, space reveals itself as overwhelmingly, hauntingly empty. Some have asked, could this void hide something? Could its vastness be more than just an absence? The imagination wanders. Science fiction writers have speculated about alien civilizations so powerful that they cleared the void deliberately, carving out a cosmic territory for reasons beyond our comprehension. Others imagine the void as a canvas for phenomena yet unknown, perhaps even signs of exotic physics. The reality is more modest, but no less profound. The Boötes Void is what happens when gravity and expansion conspire, when matter is drawn into great rivers and walls, leaving behind chasms of near-nothingness. What does it mean to live in a universe where such spaces exist? For one, it tells us that our cosmic neighborhood is special. The Milky Way resides in a region that, compared to the Boötes Void, is richly populated with galaxies. We take for granted the abundance of nearby stars, the glowing smudges of Andromeda or the Magellanic Clouds in our skies. But if we lived inside the Boötes Void, our night would be profoundly darker. Few galaxies would grace our telescopes. Our sense of being part of a grand cosmic community might have never arisen. Civilization itself, some argue, might have struggled to emerge in such isolation. The scale of the Boötes void almost defies language. Human beings are not wired to grasp distances measured in hundreds of millions of light-years. Our lives unfold in spans of decades, our civilizations in thousands of years. Even the entire history of humanity is barely a flicker compared to the time it would take light itself to cross this abyss. To contemplate the void is to confront the staggering mismatch between human timescales and cosmic ones. And yet, within that mismatch, we find wonder. The galaxies scattered within the Boötes void tell us something crucial. They are not arranged randomly. Many of them sit in small chains or filaments, as if even in the emptiest parts of the universe, matter still tries to cling together to form structures. This tendency is written into the physics of the cosmos. After the Big Bang, tiny ripples of density rippled through the primordial plasma. Regions slightly denser than their surroundings attracted more matter, growing into galaxies and clusters. Regions slightly emptier became emptier still, expanding faster than their denser counterparts. Over billions of years, this feedback produced the universe we see today, a cosmic web of luminous filaments framing yawning voids. The Boötes void, then, is not an accident. It is the natural consequence of the universe amplifying its own initial imperfections. The seeds were planted in the earliest fractions of a second, when quantum fluctuations were stretched across cosmic scales during inflation. Imagine microscopic wrinkles in the fabric of spacetime, magnified to intergalactic proportions. Those wrinkles guided the flow of matter, sculpting the future distribution of galaxies. The Boötes void is one of the most dramatic manifestations of that process. A region where the dice roll of creation came up nearly empty. For astronomers, this makes the void a priceless laboratory. It is not just emptiness, it is data. By mapping how galaxies are distributed within and around it, we can test our models of cosmology. Does dark matter behave as we expect, forming invisible scaffolds around which galaxies gather? Does dark energy push space apart at a steady rate, or does it vary? The Boötes void offers extreme conditions where these theories can be challenged. In a universe built of both matter and mystery, even the voids are part of the evidence. But beyond the science lies the perspective. Imagine an advanced civilization arising inside the Boötes void. Their sky would be lonelier, their cosmic address far more remote. Would they wonder if the universe itself was empty, save for their isolated stars? Would they even suspect that beyond the darkness lay billions of galaxies, unseen across hundreds of millions of light-years? Our sense of cosmic community depends on what our sky shows us. Perhaps civilizations born in such voids would grow more insular or more philosophical, their mythology shaped by solitude on a scale we can barely imagine. We sometimes call the Boötes void a hole, but that word fails to capture its reality. It is not carved, not hollowed, not dug. It is simply a region where the universe chose not to place much. And yet, in its very sparseness, it reveals the richness of cosmic architecture. The universe is not uniform. It is patterned, textured, dynamic. The void reminds us that absence is as important as presence. In music, silence is not an interruption of sound but part of the rhythm. In the cosmos, voids are not mistakes but essential counterpoints to galaxies. Without emptiness, structure would lose its meaning. The Boötes void also invites us to look at ourselves differently. We live in a corner of the cosmos that is relatively full, where galaxies cluster together in filaments and superclusters. If our Milky Way had been placed inside the Boötes void, our search for neighbors might have failed. Our radio signals would travel unreceived across hundreds of millions of light-years before encountering another intelligent ear. The very possibility of discovering that we are not alone depends on the cosmic environment we inherited. In this way, the void is not just a curiosity but a reminder of our good fortune. What would it feel like to travel there? Imagine piloting a ship beyond the borders of our crowded cosmic filaments, watching the density of galaxies dwindle. At first, the sky still sparkles, familiar constellations replaced by distant clusters. But as you move deeper into the void, the stars thin. The great arcs of galaxies seen in wide-field images begin to fade. Eventually, You find yourself in a cosmic desert, with only the rare glow of a solitary galaxy visible. Your sense of isolation would deepen with every light year, until even the concept of direction seemed meaningless. Surrounded by so much nothing, the human mind might strain against comprehension, trying to anchor itself to any point of reference. And in that strain lies awe, the kind that bends perspective and humbles ambition. The void is not static. Over cosmic time, galaxies drift, filaments stretch, and dark energy accelerates the expansion of space. Billions of years from now, the Boötes void will be larger still, its galaxies more scattered, its emptiness deeper. The universe itself is trending toward greater isolation, as dark energy drives galaxies apart faster than light can bridge them. One day, even the most distant galaxies will recede beyond our horizon, leaving every observer trapped in their own shrinking island of stars. In this sense, the Boötes void is a preview. It shows us not only a feature of today's universe, but also a glimpse of its ultimate fate, a cosmos defined less by connection and more by separation. When we first mapped the Boötes void, it seemed almost frightening. A hole of such unimaginable scale felt unnatural, as if the cosmos had torn itself open. But as our understanding grew, the fear gave way to wonder. The void is not an error. It is a chapter, a reminder that the universe is vast not only in what it contains, but in what it withholds. To look at the Boötes void is to peer into the artistry of creation, where emptiness plays its role with the same authority as light. And so, the Boötes void stands as a paradox, a place defined by absence yet rich in meaning, a realm nearly empty, yet full of stories about the forces that shape reality. It is a silent witness to the dance of matter and energy, to the rise of galaxies and the fall of time. For us, it is both a cosmic desert and a mirror, reflecting back our desire to find meaning in the vastness. Perhaps the greatest lesson of the Boötes void is that even nothingness is not nothing at all. The Boötes void, like every other void in the cosmic web, is not an absolute nothing. It is threaded with the faint whisper of matter, dark matter especially, stretching across unimaginable expanses. Though our telescopes capture only a few dozen galaxies inside, simulations reveal that beneath the emptiness lies a subtle scaffolding. Invisible filaments of dark matter run through the void, faint outlines of cosmic architecture, so tenuous that ordinary matter could barely cling to them. Without dark matter, the Boötes void would be featureless. With it, there exists a hidden geometry, ghostly lines of gravitational influence that shaped what little structure survives there. This interplay between dark matter and emptiness raises profound questions. Dark matter is the unseen majority, outweighing ordinary matter 5-1. Yet its presence is betrayed only through gravity. In voids, the effect is reversed. Not the abundance of galaxies, but their scarcity, maps the contours of the invisible. To study the Boötes void is to glimpse the skeleton of the universe, not the luminous flesh of stars, but the unseen frame on which everything is hung. Each isolated galaxy inside the void is a lantern clinging to that skeleton, burning quietly against the backdrop of immensity. Galaxies inside the Boötes void tend to be unusual. Many appear faint, small, and star-poor compared to their counterparts in crowded clusters. Isolated from frequent collisions and mergers, they evolve slowly, like hermits untouched by the bustling trade of cosmic cities. Their stars burn with a quieter history, their shapes often irregular, their growth stunted by lack of fresh material. In this sense, void galaxies are natural laboratories for astronomers. They reveal what happens when evolution proceeds in solitude, without the violence of galactic neighbors. There is another dimension to this emptiness, its influence on the universe at large. Voids, by virtue of their low density, expand faster than the cosmic average. Gravity has less to hold on to, so space itself stretches more freely. That expansion, in turn, tugs on the filaments surrounding them, sharpening the contrast between rich and poor regions of matter. In this way, the Boötes void acts like a cosmic engine of contrast, exaggerating the universe's large-scale patterns. The existence of such voids is one of the strongest confirmations that dark energy, the mysterious pressure accelerating the expansion of the cosmos, is real and active. The universe's fate is written not only in galaxies but also in the spaces between them. From Earth, when astronomers map the large-scale distribution of galaxies, they see a striking image emerge. The universe looks like a cosmic honeycomb, clusters and walls forming bright nodes and strands, voids opening up as dark hexagonal chambers. Among them, the Boötes void stands as one of the grandest chambers, a hollow whose sheer scale dwarfs imagination. Its discovery helped transform our picture of the cosmos from random scatter to ordered web. Without the Boötes void, the idea of a cosmic web might have remained a theory. With it, the evidence was undeniable. For us, the Boötes void serves as a reminder that the universe is not designed for human comfort. We evolved under a sky rich with stars, in a galactic neighborhood filled with light. But the cosmos is vast and varied, and most of it does not resemble home. To understand it, we must leave behind our assumptions, our longing for symmetry, our desire for fullness. Emptiness is part of the plan. If we can learn to appreciate that, we draw closer to seeing the universe as it is, not as we wish it to be. There is also poetry in such absence. The Boötes void is not just a scientific phenomenon. It is a metaphor written across the heavens. It reminds us that creation is not only about what appears, but also about what does not. Just as an artist's brushstrokes mean little without the blankness of the canvas, the galaxies of the universe mean little without the voids between them. The Boötes void is that canvas on a colossal scale, an empty space that allows the cosmic web to have form. And when we, fragile beings on a small blue planet, gaze into its immensity, we are forced to confront a paradox. We matter enormously to ourselves, yet we are infinitesimal to the cosmos. The Boötes void is an ocean of nothingness that could swallow our galaxy thousands of times over, and still it would be barely noticed in the grand expanse of the universe. Yet, through our science and imagination, we can comprehend it. That comprehension, the act of reaching across emptiness with thought, may be the most remarkable thing about our species. Consider again its scale, 330 million light-years across. If our sun were at one end and a beam of light set out across it, Earth would complete its orbit around the sun 330 million times before that beam reached the far side. Civilizations could rise and fall 1,000 times over in the time it takes for light to cross that gulf. And yet, from our vantage point, we can map it, measure it, and speak of it with confidence. In doing so, we turn the void into knowledge and knowledge into meaning. The Boötes void challenges us not only with its immensity but also with its implications. When it was first charted, some wondered if it violated the so-called cosmological principle, the idea that on the largest scales the universe should appear the same everywhere. How could such a vast emptiness exist if the cosmos were truly uniform? But the Boötes void, instead of disproving this principle, demonstrated its subtlety. Uniformity does not mean sameness. It means statistical balance. For every void, there is a cluster. For every emptiness, an abundance. The Boötes void is balanced by the dense walls and filaments surrounding it, part of a grand cosmic equilibrium. This realization led to a deeper understanding. The universe is fractal-like. Zoom in and you see galaxies, zoom out and you see filaments, zoom farther and you see voids. Each level reveals structure woven into structure, like ripples within ripples on the surface of a pond. The Boötes void is one of those ripples writ large, a basin in the cosmic sea that tells us something about the primordial vibrations of creation. Scientists probe these voids with precision, measuring not just their emptiness but the faint radiation that passes through them. The cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of the Big Bang, carries subtle imprints as it crosses these enormous underdense regions. Light stretching through the Boötes void is slightly altered, its energy shifted by the void's expansion. This effect, known as the integrated Saxwell phenomenon, allows astronomers to use voids as tools for testing dark energy. The very absence of matter becomes a laboratory for the forces shaping destiny on the grandest scales. And yet, despite their emptiness, voids like Boötes are not barren in imagination. Science fiction has long gravitated to them, painting them as hiding places for civilizations, or as scars left by unimaginable technologies. A civilization advanced enough to manipulate entire galaxies could, in theory, engineer a void by moving matter away. While there is no evidence for such interventions, the very thought speaks to the human need to assign agency to absence. We struggle with nothingness. We yearn to fill it with intention, even when nature alone suffices. Still, the Boötes void is not featureless. Its galaxies, rare and faint though they are, speak volumes. They tell us what happens to stellar systems that evolve without frequent encounters. They whisper of isolation, of stars forming slowly, of gas reserves dwindling. In contrast, galaxies in crowded clusters are battlefields, colliding and merging, their shapes twisted by gravity. Void galaxies are the quiet monks of the cosmos, living in contemplation, untouched by violence, evolving at their own pace. They may even preserve ancient characteristics long erased in busier neighborhoods, offering glimpses into an earlier style of galactic life. It is tempting to imagine what the night sky looks like from a planet orbiting one of those lonely stars inside the void. For us, the Milky Way splashes across the heavens, a glowing river of hundreds of billions of stars. For them, perhaps the sky would appear emptier, the backdrop darker, with only scattered points of light. Would their philosophers look outward and feel abandoned, or would they find serenity in the quiet? We can only speculate, but speculation itself is a reminder that the void is not just a physical reality, but a canvas for thought. The Boötes void also illustrates the dialogue between chaos and order. At first glance, the distribution of galaxies seems random, as if scattered by chance. But with enough data, a pattern emerges, the cosmic web. Filaments stretch for hundreds of millions of light-years, connecting clusters like neurons in a brain. Voids are the spaces between these neurons, giving the structure form. The Boötes void is one of the largest synapses in this cosmic brain, a gap that makes the network intelligible. Without such gaps, the pattern would dissolve into noise. Philosophers have often used emptiness as a metaphor for possibility. In Taoist thought, the value of a vessel lies in its emptiness, for it is the space that makes it useful. The Boötes void, in its own way, echoes this truth. It is not wasted space. It is the negative space that allows the positive to have meaning. The galaxies that border it, the walls of light that surround its darkness, are made more striking by contrast. The void sharpens the universe's features the way silence sharpens music, or the way shadow gives depth to form. Even our cosmic future may be written in the language of voids. As dark energy drives galaxies apart, the universe will grow emptier. In trillions of years, voids like Boötes will dominate, while the luminous filaments shrink into isolated islands. Observers in that far future, if any remain, may see only their local cluster, the rest of the universe hidden beyond horizons forever. In this sense, the Boötes void is not just a feature of today's cosmos. It is a prophecy. It shows us the direction of time, the trajectory of fate. We live in a universe trending toward loneliness, and the voids are its harbingers. Yet here we are, in an age when the void is still visible, still measurable, still meaningful. To study it is to seize a fleeting opportunity, a window that will close as expansion accelerates. Every map we make, every galaxy we chart, is an act of defiance against oblivion. We carve knowledge into the silence, leaving a record that we once knew the universe was vast and interconnected. That record may outlast us, encoded in light and mathematics, whispering across eons long after our voices are gone. The Boötes void is not simply an empty place. It is a story about what it means to live in a universe that is both full and empty, luminous and dark, connected and solitary. It is a reminder that creation is as much about absence as presence, as much about silence as sound. And in its enormity, it humbles us. It teaches that we are small, yet capable of thought large enough to encompass even the greatest emptiness. The Boötes void is one of the clearest windows into the hidden order of the cosmos, but it is also a reminder of how much remains unseen. When astronomers gaze into it with powerful instruments, they do not find pure blackness. They detect the faint glow of galaxies that lie at its edges, the subtle scatter of background radiation, and the gravitational influence of unseen matter. Every void, no matter how empty it appears, still shapes the universe around it. Emptiness is never powerless. In fact, the Boötes void influences the motion of galaxies beyond its borders. Like a basin carved into the landscape of spacetime, it nudges matter outward, pulling on nearby filaments through its underdensity. Where we are accustomed to thinking of gravity as attractive, voids remind us that the absence of mass creates its own kind of push. This push is subtle but measurable, guiding the flow of galaxies across hundreds of millions of light-years. The Boötes void is not a passive gap. It is an active player in the choreography of the cosmic web. When cosmologists simulate the evolution of the universe on supercomputers, the Boötes void appears naturally, along with many smaller voids scattered throughout the structure. Its existence confirms that our models of physics are roughly correct. Dark matter clumps into filaments, dark energy stretches space, and ordinary matter follows suit. But it also exposes mysteries. The exact distribution of void sizes and shapes is a sensitive test of cosmology. If our theories about dark matter or dark energy were even slightly wrong, voids would reveal the cracks. The Boötes void is therefore both confirmation and challenge, proof that our map is close, but perhaps not perfect. Voids also invite us to reconsider our place in the hierarchy of scale. On Earth, emptiness is relative. A desert compared to a forest, an ocean trench compared to a coastline. But in the universe, emptiness reaches another order of magnitude entirely. A cosmic void is not just barren. It is almost absolute, its density a fraction of the cosmic average. The Boötes void contains fewer than 1/10 the number of galaxies you would expect in a region of its size. It is, in cosmic terms, shockingly vacant. And yet, it is not alone. Similar voids stretch across the cosmos, though none quite match its enormity. Together, they form the silent counterpart to the grand architecture of galaxies. Imagine standing at the edge of this void, as if such a boundary could be perceived. Behind you stretches the glowing lattice of the cosmic web, galaxies strung like pearls on threads of light. Ahead of you lies the abyss, a gulf where galaxies are sparse, their lights isolated. Crossing that threshold would be like stepping from a crowded metropolis into a desert where the horizon is empty. For light itself, the journey takes hundreds of millions of years. For us, it is a thought experiment, a meditation on the scale of creation. And here is where science meets wonder. The Boötes void is a scientific fact, mapped and measured, its size calculated with rigor. But to speak of it is to speak of meaning as well. The void is a mirror held up to human curiosity. We look into its absence and find ourselves reflecting on solitude, on perspective, on the fragility of our place in the cosmos. In the Boötes void, we see not only an astronomical anomaly but also a metaphor for the unknowns that surround us, both in the universe and in our lives. From a purely physical standpoint, the Boötes void tells us how structure grows. From a human standpoint, it tells us how knowledge grows. Not from filling in every space, but from acknowledging where the spaces are. We learn as much from what is absent as from what is present. The Boötes void is the largest reminder of that principle. A cosmic classroom where the lesson is written in emptiness itself. The galaxies that cling to life inside the void are perhaps the most poignant detail of all. They are not impossibilities, but survivors, evidence that even in the most desolate environments, complexity can arise. Their isolation makes them rare jewels, each one a treasure of information about galactic evolution. Astronomers study their gas content, their star formation rates, their unusual shapes. Some appear like dwarfs, faint and underdeveloped. Others show signs of long, quiet lives, unperturbed by violent mergers. They are living fossils, their existence shaped not by abundance but by scarcity. One can imagine civilizations within such galaxies, if life ever took hold there. Their myths might be written in darkness rather than light. Their scientists might struggle to see beyond their lonely horizons. Their philosophers might wonder if the universe ends with them. The Boötes void provokes these thought experiments not because we expect answers, but because they reveal the limits of our own assumptions. We take for granted a universe rich with neighbors, but the void whispers that isolation is the default and connection the exception. In time, as the universe ages, voids like Boötes will continue to expand. They will swallow surrounding galaxies, pushing the filaments farther apart. Eventually, most of the volume of the cosmos will be void. Matter will be confined to ever smaller strands, glowing like thin veins in a vast body of darkness. The Boötes void is not a curiosity, it is a preview. It is what the universe is becoming, a portrait of the future written in the present. And still, there is beauty in it. Just as we find beauty in deserts, in empty plains, in silent oceans, so too can we find beauty in the Boötes void. Its grandeur lies in scale, in contrast, in the humbling recognition of our smallness. To look into it is to let go of ego and to embrace perspective. It is to accept that the universe is not obliged to comfort us, yet still manages to inspire us. The Boötes void is the silence in the cosmic symphony, the pause that gives meaning to the notes. Without it, the song would be flatter, duller, less profound. The Boötes void is more than a curiosity. It is a boundary marker in human understanding. For centuries, our ancestors looked at the sky and believed it to be a dome, studded with stars like jewels set into crystal. Even when telescopes revealed the truth that stars are suns, and the Milky Way is only one galaxy among billions, the mind still leaned toward fullness. We imagined that space, though vast, was evenly populated, sprinkled like sugar across black velvet. The Boötes void shattered that illusion. It told us the universe is not balanced in the way we hoped. Instead, it is textured, rough, uneven, rich here, poor there, structured like a sponge or a web. This realization has consequences that ripple far beyond astronomy. If the cosmos is structured by contrasts, then our own place within it is not random but contextual. We live in a filament in a region of comparative abundance. Our night sky is alive with stars and galaxies because we were lucky enough to form in a crowded neighborhood. Had we been born in the Boötes void, we might never have learned that galaxies exist at all. Our philosophies, our science, even our myths might have unfolded in darkness, confined by horizons that offered no hints of a greater universe. The Boötes void also challenges us to measure the invisible. Emptiness by itself cannot be seen. We detect it only by contrast, by noticing where galaxies are not. This is a profound reminder. Knowledge is built as much on the unseen as the seen. We define edges, gaps, silences. We map the universe not only by what shines, but by where it fails to shine. The Boötes void is thus not only a physical object but also a cognitive one. It sharpens our methods, demanding that we learn to listen to silence, to measure absence, to take nothing seriously. Astronomers often visualize voids using redshift surveys. In these maps, galaxies are points, and together they trace out the filaments of the cosmic web. Looking at such a survey is like looking at a three-dimensional spider's web suspended in ink. Dense clusters glow brightly, filaments stretch in fine strands, and then, suddenly, a vast cavern of darkness opens, the Boötes void. The sheer abruptness of it makes the hair rise on the back of the neck. In a universe built on connections, here is a wound of disconnection, a region so sparse that it feels unnatural, even though it is perfectly natural. And there is still more to its role. The Boötes void is not just an absence of galaxies, it is a reservoir of expansion. Inside, with less matter to slow it, space stretches faster. This means that photons traveling through the void are subtly redshifted, losing energy as the fabric of spacetime pulls them outward. By measuring this shift, scientists can test the properties of dark energy itself. In this way, the Boötes void becomes a laboratory for the ultimate mystery, the force driving the acceleration of the universe. That a nothing could reveal the secret of everything is one of the quiet ironies of cosmology. The galaxies trapped within the void are, in a sense, exiles. Cut off from the bustling corridors of the cosmic web, they evolve differently. Without frequent mergers, they tend to be smaller, dimmer, and less active. Many are dwarfs, faint smudges barely visible against the black. Some are irregular, twisted by subtle gravitational tides, but never remade by collisions. Others may have conserved ancient features, fossil traits erased elsewhere by constant encounters. To peer at these galaxies is to peer at an alternative universe, what galactic life looks like when it grows in silence. What would it mean to be a being born in such a place? Imagine lifting your gaze to the heavens and seeing only a thin spray of stars, with no great glowing band like our Milky Way across the night. Your telescopes, however powerful, would detect only emptiness. The cosmos would seem finite, bounded, small. Perhaps your people would conclude that they were alone. Perhaps they would never imagine that beyond the darkness lies a crowded universe of billions of galaxies. This thought experiment reminds us that our view of reality is always filtered by perspective. To us, the Boötes void is an object of study. To a hypothetical civilization inside it, it might be the entire universe. Cosmologists also use voids to probe fundamental physics. The exact size and shape of voids depends delicately on the nature of dark matter. Is it cold, moving slowly, clumping strongly? Or is it warm, smearing structures out on small scales? The Boötes void, being enormous, is less sensitive to these details than smaller voids, but it still provides leverage. Its sheer size tells us that the universe allows such expanses of emptiness, which in turn constrains how matter must have behaved in the early epochs after the Big Bang. In this way, the Boötes void is not just an absence but a boundary condition for physics itself. And yet, the Boötes void is not eternal. Over billions of years, the cosmic web will evolve. Galaxies around the edges will continue to fall toward denser filaments, leaving the center ever emptier. Dark energy will accelerate this process, stretching the void further, deepening its silence. In the distant future, the Boötes void will be larger, darker, even lonelier. What is now already a staggering emptiness will become almost absolute. And when that happens, the universe will have moved one step closer to its destiny. A cosmos where light itself is rare, where every observer is marooned on an island of stars surrounded by a sea of void. Still, there is a kind of grandeur in this fate. Just as death gives meaning to life, so emptiness gives meaning to presence. The Boötes void is a reminder that the universe is not designed to comfort us, but it is structured to astonish us. Its silence is not hostile, it is neutral and therefore profound. To stare into it is to feel both small and elevated. Small because we are dwarfed by its scale, elevated because we can comprehend it. When we speak of the Boötes void, we are not merely cataloging an anomaly. We are telling a story about contrast, about balance, about the way the universe writes itself in both ink and blank space. It is a story of structure, of evolution, of fate. It is a story that forces us to confront nothingness, and to find in that confrontation not despair, but understanding. The Boötes void stretches before us like a cosmic scar, carved not by violence but by the quiet arithmetic of gravity and time. To look at it is to gaze into the mathematics of nothingness, written across a canvas hundreds of millions of light-years wide. This is not an emptiness of neglect, nor a hole waiting to be filled. It is the natural byproduct of a universe governed by density, expansion, and contrast. Where matter gathered into walls and filaments, other regions were left behind, evacuated of galaxies, swollen by the accelerated breath of space itself. The Boötes void is one of those abandoned chambers, magnified to an incomprehensible degree. When we chart it in 3 dimensions, the Boötes void resembles a hollow bubble surrounded by sheets of galaxies. Those sheets are not flat walls but great arcs, bending across hundreds of millions of light-years, like frozen waves on a black ocean. The galaxies that define these edges are not aware that they are tracing out a structure. They follow gravity, responding blindly to the pull of invisible dark matter and the push of cosmic expansion. Yet together they sketch a boundary around absence, drawing the outline of nothing with points of light. Inside the Boötes void, galaxies are rare, but not absent. Their very rarity makes them valuable clues. In crowded regions, galaxies grow by collision, merging and cannibalizing neighbors. In the void, isolation denies them this violence. They evolve more slowly, quietly, sometimes oddly. Their stars are fewer, their gas more tenuous, their histories more delicate. To peer at them is to witness what galaxies might look like if left to solitude. Some are dwarfs, faint and irregular, never pulled into grand spirals. Others resemble relics, time capsules preserving early conditions that in denser regions have long been erased. In this sense, void galaxies are laboratories of cosmic silence, whispering of what might have been. Even light itself is transformed by the Boötes void. As photons from the early universe traverse its immense expanse, they lose energy, stretched by the accelerated expansion of underdensity. This subtle shift, measurable in the microwave afterglow of the Big Bang, provides one of the most sensitive tests of dark energy. Thus, the void becomes more than scenery. It becomes an instrument, a probe, a tool. In its hollowness, it holds answers about the most mysterious force we know, the one that drives the universe apart at an ever-increasing pace. And yet, beyond the equations and data, the Boötes void remains a philosophical encounter. Imagine a civilization arising within one of its scattered galaxies. Their night sky would not blaze with the river of the Milky Way, nor glow with countless neighboring galaxies. Instead, their heavens would be subdued, sparse, perhaps even monotonous. Through their telescopes, they might find only more emptiness. The universe, to them, might appear small, finite, and lonely. Would they ever imagine that beyond their darkness lies an ocean of galaxies, too far to see? Would they ever suspect that their cosmic address is not typical, but extraordinary in its emptiness? Their myths might describe a universe forsaking them. Their science might conclude that creation is barren. Their philosophy might be shaped by the weight of solitude. For us, the Boötes void is a window into humility. It reminds us that our own night sky is unusually rich, our perspective unusually blessed. We take for granted the nearby galaxies, the Magellanic Clouds, Andromeda, the Virgo cluster beyond. But abundance is not universal. It is local, fragile, contingent. If the Milky Way had been born in the Boötes void, our cosmic imagination might never have ignited. There might be no astronomers, no telescopes, no questions. The universe could have remained hidden simply because our address deprived us of evidence. This realization deepens the mystery of existence itself. Why here? Why now? The Boötes void sharpens the anthropic puzzle. Life arose in a universe vast with voids, but it arose in a galaxy within a filament, surrounded by neighbors. Chance placed us in a crowded district, and in that crowd we found context, meaning, curiosity. Had chance placed us in the emptiness, perhaps consciousness would still have emerged. But blind, confined, never knowing its true scale, the void thus frames our fortune, reminding us that knowledge is not only about intellect but also about circumstance. Cosmologists view voids as statistical inevitabilities. They are not mistakes but expected features of the cosmic web, predicted by simulations and confirmed by surveys. Yet the Boötes void remains an outlier in its vastness. It is among the largest such structures ever identified, a giant among giants. Its very scale pushes the boundaries of probability, suggesting that the universe permits extremes far beyond the average. That lesson matters. It means the cosmos is not merely typical. It is extraordinary, punctuated by anomalies, extremes, and surprises. The Boötes void is one of those surprises, a testament that even within natural laws, wonder persists. Its discovery in the 1980s was a shock. When Robert Kirshner and his colleagues mapped the distribution of galaxies, they did not expect to find such a cavern of darkness. The moment was akin to early explorers charting Earth and stumbling across the Pacific Ocean, a span so vast that it seemed endless compared to familiar lands. The Boötes void was our cosmic Pacific, a reminder that the universe contains oceans as well as continents, deserts as well as forests. Mapping it gave us not only knowledge but also vertigo, a dizziness born of realizing just how immense nothingness could be. Even now, as surveys grow more detailed, the Boötes void retains its power to astonish. Instruments like the Sloan Digital Sky Survey and the Dark Energy Survey reveal the cosmic web with exquisite precision, and the void looms clearly, an unmistakable hollow in the tapestry. The more we map, the more we see that voids are not empty gaps between galaxies, They are integral parts of the structure. They are as real, as dynamic, as essential as the galaxies themselves. Without them, there would be no web, only chaos. Absence gives structure its shape. Silence gives music its rhythm. The Boötes void is not a flaw in the pattern. It is the pattern. And it is still evolving. Galaxies at its borders drift outward, pulled toward denser walls. The center grows emptier, stretched by the relentless expansion of spacetime. Billions of years from now, the Boötes void will be larger still, its few galaxies more scattered, its silence deeper. In this sense, it is not only a feature of the present but also a prophecy of the future. The universe is moving toward greater emptiness, toward a destiny where voids dominate. The Boötes void is not just a chapter, it is a preview of the ending. But endings are also beginnings. For in contemplating the Boötes void, we confront the essential truth of existence. That meaning is not given, but made. Emptiness need not diminish us. It can expand us, stretch our imagination, deepen our wonder. The Boötes void is terrifying in scale, but it is also inspiring. It tells us that we are small, yes, but capable of thought large enough to encompass even the greatest abyss. In that act of comprehension, we transform nothingness into knowledge, silence into story. So the Boötes void, far from being a void in our understanding, becomes a canvas for it. It is the universe's reminder that creation is as much about what is withheld as what is given, as much about the spaces between as the structures themselves. We do not live in a universe of fullness alone. We live in a universe of contrast, of light and dark, of sound and silence. The Boötes void is the silence. It is the dark, and without it, the symphony of the cosmos would lose its depth. The Boötes void is not only an astronomical discovery, it is a frontier of perception. For the human mind, which evolved to navigate forests, rivers, and horizons no more than a few miles away, the sheer immensity of a void hundreds of millions of light-years wide is staggering. To think of it requires abstraction, numbers that strain against imagination, metaphors that only hint at its reality. And yet, it is precisely here, in the gap between understanding and awe, that our species finds its unique strength. We cannot traverse the void, but we can conceive of it. We cannot see its edges with our eyes, but we can map it with reason. Voids such as Boötes are also critical for cosmological balance. They act as cushions in the great foam of the universe, spaces into which expansion flows. Without them, galaxies would collapse into denser regions too quickly, and the universe would look utterly different. These vast caverns of emptiness are stabilizers, absorbing the push of dark energy, moderating the pull of gravity, allowing the cosmic web to maintain its shape. The Boötes void, by its enormity, illustrates this role most vividly. It is not an accident, not a flaw, but a necessary component of structure. Just as lungs need emptiness to breathe, the universe needs voids to evolve. Inside the Boötes void, the galaxies that remain are like scattered outposts along a desert road. Each one is its own civilization of stars, billions of suns orbiting in isolation. Unlike galaxies in clusters, which are constantly perturbed by encounters, void galaxies live quiet lives. This quietude can be measured. Star formation proceeds at different rates, chemical enrichment is slower, gas reservoirs are consumed differently. These subtle shifts allow astronomers to compare and contrast, learning how environment sculpts evolution. The Boötes void is therefore not just absence but experiment, a natural control group in the laboratory of the cosmos. The very geometry of the Boötes void challenges us. Most voids are irregular, shaped by the surrounding filaments, their edges jagged. Boötes, however, is exceptionally spherical, stretching outward like a near-perfect bubble. This symmetry makes it even more striking, as though the universe deliberately carved out a chamber of emptiness. In truth, it is the product of initial conditions amplified over billions of years. But to the human eye, accustomed to patterns, its roundness carries an eerie resonance. It looks intentional, though it is not. It looks designed, though it is natural. It invites metaphor even as it resists it. The Boötes void also influences our understanding of scale. Imagine shrinking Earth to a grain of sand. The Milky Way would then be the size of a continent. The observable universe would stretch larger than Earth itself. Within that analogy, the Boötes void would be a cavern big enough to swallow entire nations of galaxies. Scale is relative and relativity is humbling. The void takes numbers so large that they erase themselves, turning into silence. We are forced not only to calculate but also to surrender, to accept that comprehension comes not only from precision but from awe. Philosophically, the Boötes void confronts us with absence as reality. Human cultures have long feared emptiness. We fill silences with music, blank spaces with words, gaps in memory with stories. The void resists this instinct. It is unfillable, unyielding, and yet still meaningful. Its existence reminds us that nothingness is not failure but fact. The cosmos is not wasteful for leaving spaces empty. It is creative. In the gaps, structure takes form. In the silence, harmony arises. The Boötes void teaches us that to deny emptiness is to deny half of existence. For cosmology, voids are also windows into the past. Their shapes preserve the initial conditions of the early universe more faithfully than clusters. Dense regions evolve rapidly, erasing their origins in collisions and mergers. But voids, expanding and emptying, retain memory of the first ripples of density laid down during inflation. In studying them, we trace the fingerprints of the Big Bang itself. The Boötes void, by virtue of its size, carries those fingerprints across a canvas wider than any other, a relic not of destruction but of creation. It is worth pausing to imagine the passage of time across such an expanse. Light takes 330 million years to cross the Boötes void. In that time, continents on Earth drift, mountains rise and erode, species appear and vanish. Civilizations rise, collapse, and leave only ruins. Entire lineages of stars are born, live, and die in the spiral arms of galaxies. Yet for light, the journey has only just begun. The Boötes void measures time not in decades or millennia, but in eons that dwarf history. It is a clock that ticks more slowly than we can comprehend, yet it keeps perfect time. As cosmology advances, voids are becoming more central to science. They are no longer seen as gaps between galaxies but as active participants in cosmic evolution. Surveys now catalog them by the thousands, measuring their statistics, comparing them with predictions. The Boötes void remains special for its enormity, but it is part of a greater family, a network of hollows that lace the universe like bubbles in cosmic glass. To understand them is to understand the balance between presence and absence, between matter and emptiness. But the Boötes void also remains a source of existential reflection. To think of it is to confront our scale, our fragility, our uniqueness. The void is not hostile, but it is indifferent. It does not notice us. It does not care. And yet, through our science, we have noticed it. That noticing is a triumph. It is the act of a species that dares to measure the immeasurable, to name the unnameable, to reach across millions of light years with thought alone. The Boötes void humbles us, but it also elevates us. It reminds us that while we are small, our curiosity is vast. In the end, the Boötes void is both a place and an idea. It is an astronomical structure, mapped by redshifts, defined by galaxies, shaped by physics. But it is also a symbol of silence, of contrast, of the strange beauty of nothingness. It is the pause in the universal symphony, the negative space in the painting of creation, the gap that gives form to the whole. To contemplate it is to learn that absence is not the opposite of existence, but its partner. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the eloquence of nothing, written in the largest letters the universe can provide. The Boötes void deepens our appreciation for the universe as a work of contrast. If we think of the cosmos as a grand painting, then galaxies are not the only brushstrokes. The dark spaces between them are part of the composition. Without those spaces, the picture would collapse into clutter, all light and no perspective. The Boötes void is a masterstroke of emptiness, a sweeping gesture across the canvas of space that reveals how absence is as essential as presence. Its enormity also reframes what we mean by isolation. On Earth, isolation might mean a remote island or an empty desert. In the void, isolation is absolute. Galaxies lie tens or hundreds of millions of light-years apart, separated not by seas or mountains but by the expanding fabric of space-time itself. Communication between them, even at light speed, would take longer than the age of multicellular life on Earth. Each galaxy is not just a lonely island but an entire archipelago with no other shores in sight. When we imagine civilizations here, we are imagining lifetimes spent in silence, horizons that never reveal a neighbor, skies that enforce solitude as law. And yet, these lonely galaxies endure. Their stars shine, their planets orbit, their black holes consume, their nebulae glow. Life may or may not emerge, but the physics persists. This persistence is, in itself, profound. The Boötes void reminds us that the universe is not designed for us, nor even for comfort. It is designed for endurance. Structures arise even where the odds are poor. Galaxies burn quietly in the darkness, testifying that even the emptiest regions are not barren of meaning. The Boötes void also helps us test the limits of the cosmological principle. The principle states that, on the largest scales, the universe should appear homogeneous and isotropic, essentially the same in every direction, when averaged over vast volumes. The existence of such a gigantic void seemed, at first, to defy this principle. But as our surveys grew broader, we found that voids and clusters balance one another. Over immense distances, the universe still obeys the principle. Yet the Boötes void is a reminder that uniformity is not smoothness. It is balance achieved through extremes. The cosmos can honor symmetry while still producing anomalies of staggering size. When we map the Boötes void, we are also mapping time. The light from its scattered galaxies has taken hundreds of millions of years to reach us. What we see is not the void as it is, but as it was. Perhaps those galaxies have drifted farther apart since then. Perhaps new stars have flickered to life, or old ones collapsed into black holes. In this sense, the Boötes void is not only distance but history, a record of emptiness preserved in light. Every observation is a glimpse into the past, a fragment of a story unfolding across epochs. In computer simulations of cosmic evolution, voids like Boötes emerge naturally, but their presence still evokes awe. Watching a simulation, one sees matter collapse into filaments, clusters forming at the nodes, while vast hollows swell between them. The Boötes void is simply one of those hollows, scaled to majesty. And yet, even knowing that it is natural does not diminish its wonder. Nature's inevitabilities can still astonish, especially when they unfold at scales far beyond human instinct. There is also something strangely intimate about the Boötes void. Its silence invites reflection, as though the cosmos itself were pausing for breath. Standing metaphorically at its edge, one feels the pull of its darkness like a contemplative hush. It is not frightening, but solemn. The Boötes void teaches us to sit with emptiness, to accept that meaning is not always where we expect it, that presence is enriched by the spaces around it. In its stillness lies a kind of cosmic meditation. Astronomers sometimes refer to voids as the universe's negative space, but that phrase barely captures their role. They are more than gaps. They are engines of expansion, sculptors of structure, theaters for unique galactic evolution. The Boötes void, by being so large, emphasizes this truth. It demonstrates that emptiness is not inert but active, pushes, shapes, and defines. Without voids, the universe's web would never have formed as it did. Without the Boötes void, our understanding of that web would never have sharpened as it has. In contemplating the Boötes void, we also confront destiny. The universe is not static. Dark energy ensures that galaxies are drifting farther apart. Filaments will stretch, clusters will separate, and voids will swell. The Boötes void of today is the template for the cosmos of tomorrow. What is now extraordinary will one day be typical. The universe, in time, will become a tapestry dominated by voids, where light itself is rare and connection is impossible. To gaze into the Boötes void now is to peer into our future, a future defined by silence. And yet, silence is not the end of meaning. Just as music without silence is cacophony, so too the universe without voids would lack harmony. The Boötes void is proof that nothingness is part of the design. To fear it is to misunderstand it. To embrace it is to see the cosmos whole. We do not need to fill it with myths of alien architects or cosmic mistakes. Its reality is wonder enough. A chamber of nothing, bordered by billions of stars, stretching wider than human thought. Perhaps the greatest irony of the Boötes void is that, by studying emptiness, we learn fullness. By measuring nothing, we understand something. By staring into absence, we discover presence. This is the paradox at the heart of science and of existence itself. The Boötes void is a monument to that paradox, written across the sky in letters so vast they can only be read with patience, humility, and imagination. The Boötes void stands as one of the purest symbols of cosmic scale. To even whisper its size, 330 million light-years across, is to brush against a number that feels less like distance and more like eternity. Numbers that large don't just describe, they destabilize. They turn our sense of proportion upside down. Our planet, our solar system, our galaxy shrink into footnotes when placed against such a canvas. Yet this canvas is not filled with stars. It is dominated by absence. When astronomers first identified this vast emptiness, some wondered if they had made a mistake. Could their maps have gaps in data? Could the surveys have overlooked hidden galaxies? But as more evidence gathered, the reality became undeniable. The void was real, and it was immense. It wasn't simply a hole, it was a truth of cosmic structure. Like a shadow cast across billions of light-years, the Boötes void revealed the universe's architecture by what it withheld. In exploring the void, cosmologists discovered that emptiness itself has fingerprints. The shapes of voids, their sizes, and their distributions all encode information about the ingredients of the cosmos. Cold dark matter predicts a certain pattern of voids. Warm dark matter or exotic alternatives predict others. By measuring the Boötes void, we are in effect taking the universe's pulse, listening to the echoes of its birth. A cavern of nothing becomes a record of everything. Inside, the handful of galaxies scattered across the void feel like cosmic refugees. Cut off from the highways of matter, they drift alone, faint and starved. Yet even in their loneliness, they thrive in their own quiet way. Some continue to form stars from their thin reserves of gas. Others preserve structures undisturbed for eons. To us, they appear as whispers on the brink of silence, each one a fragile flame against a boundless dark. They testify that even in isolation, the universe persists in its creativity. What we call emptiness is never truly empty. Between the rare galaxies of the Boötes void stretches dark matter, silent and invisible, threading the abyss with gravitational strands. Though we cannot see it, we know it must be there. Without it, the scattered galaxies would have no scaffolding to cling to. Without it, the void would collapse into shapelessness. The Boötes void is therefore not a vacuum but a hidden stage, with dark matter as the unseen architecture. The play continues even when the stage looks bare. The Boötes void also sharpens the contrast with our own cosmic home. The Milky Way lies in a filament, part of the Laniakea supercluster, surrounded by a network of galaxies, clusters, and walls. We are not isolated. We have neighbors, and those neighbors have neighbors. The night sky reveals this abundance in every direction. To live in such a place is to feel part of something greater. But in the Boötes void, that sense would be absent. A civilization there might look up and see little to suggest connection. Their scientists might suspect that they were alone. Their poets might write hymns to solitude, their myths shaped by scarcity. Where we see a web, they would see only darkness. The existence of such places forces us to re-examine our assumptions about perspective. The universe we perceive is not universal, it is local. Our sky is not the sky. Our abundance is not inevitable. The Boötes void reminds us that we inhabit a privileged vantage point, one that makes curiosity possible. To see the web is to live in it. To live in the void is to live in ignorance. unless imagination dares to leap where evidence cannot. On even larger scales, voids like boötes shape the flow of galaxies across the cosmos. Their underdensity accelerates expansion, creating a push that balances the pull of clusters. This tug-of-war sculpts the web itself. The boötes void, by being so immense, exerts a gravitational influence across hundreds of millions of light-years. It is not passive emptiness. It is an active shaper of reality. Galaxies at its edge move differently because it exists. Even silence leaves an imprint. The boötes void also carries a lesson about destiny. The universe is only 13.8 billion years old. In cosmic terms, it is young. Yet already we see voids this vast. What will happen when the universe is twice its age? 10 times? 100 times? The boötes void suggests the answer. Emptiness will grow, structure will thin, galaxies will retreat from one another until each cluster is marooned. What we see in boötes is a snapshot of the future, a universe that becomes more and more defined by what is not there. The cosmos is not heading toward fullness, but toward solitude. Still, there is a paradoxical comfort in this vision. If the boötes void shows us emptiness, it also shows us persistence. Even in the deepest chasms, galaxies endure. Even in the loneliest corners, stars are born, burn, and die. The universe does not abandon creation. It spreads it thin, like scattered seeds across an endless field. And from those seeds, meaning arises not because the universe intends it, but because we perceive it. To contemplate the boötes void is to practice humility. It is to accept that our scale is small, our knowledge partial, our time brief. But it is also to accept that our minds are vast, our curiosity powerful, our imagination boundless. We cannot cross the void, but we can understand it. We cannot fill its emptiness, but we can find meaning in it. In that act, we elevate ourselves. Perhaps this is the ultimate gift of the boötes void. It forces us to confront absence without fear. Teaches us that silence is not negation, but structure. That darkness is not the end of light, but its frame. That emptiness is not meaningless, but essential. The boötes void is not a hole in the universe. It is the universe teaching us, in the most dramatic way possible, that absence and presence are inseparable. And when we finally step back and see it for what it is, a hollow bubble 300 million light-years wide, surrounded by arcs of galaxies like walls of flame around a chamber of dark, we understand. The boötes void is not a mistake. It is a masterpiece. The boötes void does not merely sit in the universe. It participates in it. Its boundaries are alive with motion, galaxies streaming along filaments like rivers flowing around the edge of a canyon. These galaxies are tugged not only by their neighbors but also by the absence behind them. Where mass is scarce, expansion dominates, and so the void swells, slowly but relentlessly. Over billions of years, the boötes void has grown like a great bubble in rising dough, stretching the fabric of space-time with quiet insistence. In this sense, the voids of the universe, boötes foremost among them, are agents of structure. They provide the contrast that allows clusters and filaments to cohere. They sharpen the cosmic skeleton, exaggerating the difference between abundance and scarcity. Without them, the universe would be bland, featureless, smeared evenly with matter. Instead, it is sculpted into a vast, three-dimensional lattice, a network so intricate that it resembles the filigree of frost on glass or the neural pathways of a brain. The boötes void is one of the clearest windows into this architecture, a chamber that reveals the pattern by its sheer emptiness. Our instruments continue to probe deeper. Radio telescopes chart neutral hydrogen in void galaxies, measuring how much fuel for star formation they still possess. Space observatories record their faint starlight, teasing out histories written in color and spectrum. Supercomputers simulate their slow evolution, comparing prediction to observation. Each effort converges on a truth. The boötes void is not just emptiness, but context. To understand galaxies in clusters, we must understand galaxies in voids. To understand abundance, we must understand absence. Beyond science, however, the boötes void remains a profound human encounter. We are meaning makers, uncomfortable with silence, compelled to turn emptiness into metaphor. Some imagine the void as a reminder of mortality, a cosmic memento mori. Others see it as a sanctuary, a cathedral of silence where the universe pauses to breathe. To the poet, it is a canvas of longing. To the scientist, it is a dataset. To the philosopher, it is a mirror of nothingness. But to all, it is humbling. Think of what it means that we can know of the Boötes void at all. From a small planet orbiting an ordinary star in an average galaxy, we have built instruments capable of mapping space on scales our ancestors could never imagine. We have taken photons that traveled for hundreds of millions of years and turned them into understanding. We have stretched our imagination to match the size of silence. The Boötes void is not only a feature of the universe, it is proof of our capacity to comprehend the unimaginable. It also changes how we see ourselves. In the Boötes void, galaxies drift apart, alone, starved of neighbors. In our own region, galaxies cluster and collide, rich with interaction. We live in abundance, not because it is guaranteed, but because it is contingent. The Boötes void shows us how fragile that abundance is, how exceptional our sky might be. Our sense of cosmic connection, our recognition that we are part of a vast community of galaxies, is a gift of geography. It is not universal. It is a consequence of where we were born. If the Boötes void is a preview of the future, then our current age is rare. We live in a time when the cosmic web is visible, when galaxies are close enough to be mapped, when voids are measurable. In the far future, when dark energy has stretched space to the point that galaxies slip beyond the cosmic horizon, the universe will appear empty to its observers. They will live in voids by default, cut off from the larger web forever. The Boötes void is a glimpse of that destiny, a reminder that our moment is temporary, precious, fleeting. To know the Boötes void is therefore to know ourselves. It is to confront the scale of absence and to recognize the scale of our curiosity. It is to accept that we live in a universe where nothingness is not failure but foundation. And it is to be reminded that our meaning does not depend on abundance. Meaning can exist even in emptiness, especially in emptiness, because meaning is not given by the universe. It is made by us. The Boötes void is vast, yes. It is humbling, yes, but it is also beautiful. The silence is not cold, it is eloquent. Its emptiness is not barren, it is sculptural. It is the universe teaching us that even in the greatest darkness, there is form. Even in the greatest silence, there is rhythm. Even in the greatest absence, there is truth. So when we turn our telescopes to the sky and map that immense hollow, we are not staring into nothing. We are staring into the architecture of reality. We are staring into the balance that makes creation possible. We are staring into the silence that gives meaning to the song of galaxies. The Boötes void is not a hole in the universe. It is the universe itself, revealed in one of its most majestic forms, a vast, silent cathedral of space and time. The Boötes void may seem like an isolated wonder, but in truth it is part of a grander mosaic. The universe is riddled with voids, great hollows between the filaments of galaxies. Some are small, mere tens of millions of light-years across. Others rival Boötes, forming a network of emptiness as vast as the structures of light that surround them. Together, these voids dominate the cosmic volume. Paradoxically, most of the universe is not galaxies but the spaces between them. To understand the universe is to understand that emptiness is its most common feature. The Boötes void, however, remains singular in its scale. It is not merely one of many hollows. It is a titan among them, stretching wider than almost any other. If the cosmic web is a tapestry, then Boötes is its boldest negative space, a vast blank that gives the entire picture contrast. Without it, the design would flatten. With it, the universe gains depth. Its enormity is not incidental. It is structural, shaping the balance of mass across hundreds of millions of light-years. These vast voids are more than curiosities. They are proving grounds for the deepest mysteries of physics. For example, the rate at which voids expand can reveal whether dark energy behaves as Einstein's equations predict. If voids expand faster than expected, perhaps dark energy is dynamic, changing over time. If they expand more slowly, perhaps our understanding of gravity itself is incomplete. The Boötes void is a challenge to theory, a silent courtroom where cosmology is put on trial. Every galaxy within it is a witness, every photon that crosses it a piece of testimony. There is also the strange question of geometry. Why does Boötes appear so nearly spherical, when most voids are ragged and irregular? Some simulations suggest that chance alone can produce such symmetry, given enough time and the right initial conditions. Others whisper of deeper physics, subtle influences that favor certain shapes. The void's roundness teases us with the possibility that the universe still has rules we do not fully grasp. It is like hearing an unfamiliar chord in a familiar song, unexpected, yet hinting at hidden harmony. Inside its silence, galaxies evolve in ways that challenge our expectations. Some void galaxies show signs of extended star formation, continuing longer than their crowded counterparts. Without the constant stripping and collisions of clusters, they can retain gas for billions of years. Others show irregular morphologies, as if solitude has allowed them to drift into eccentric forms. Studying these galaxies is like studying creatures that evolved in isolation on remote islands, Darwin's finches of the cosmos. Their uniqueness reveals the power of environment to shape destiny. From a philosophical standpoint, the Boötes void invites us to consider the nature of absence. We often treat absence as lack, as something missing, but here absence is presence. The void is not the failure of galaxies to appear. It is the structure that emerges when galaxies cluster elsewhere. It is not a hole to be filled, but a chamber that defines the architecture of the universe. Just as the hollow of a cave gives resonance to sound, the Boötes void gives resonance to the cosmic web. Without it, the song of galaxies would lose its depth. There is another way to see the Boötes void, as a time machine. Because light takes so long to cross it, every observation is a journey into the past. We see galaxies as they were hundreds of millions of years ago. Their present, as it unfolds now, remains hidden. In this way, the void is not just distance, it is history stretched across light years. It reminds us that the universe is not a snapshot but a moving film, and we are always watching it on delay. The Boötes void is a vast reel of time, its silence punctuated by the faint flickers of ancient light. And then there is the thought experiment that never fails to stir the imagination. What if we lived there? What if humanity had arisen not in the Milky Way's crowded suburb, but in one of those lonely void galaxies? Would we have ever discovered the truth? Would we know the universe as vast, or would we assume it was small, bounded by the darkness at our horizon? Perhaps our entire worldview would have been different. Perhaps our philosophies would teach not of connection, but of solitude. The Boötes void is not only a place, but a mirror of possibility, an alternate reality where existence unfolds against a darker sky. As science presses forward, we now look to map voids in ever greater detail. Surveys stretch farther, instruments grow sharper, and supercomputers simulate the cosmos with billions of particles. Each effort adds resolution to our picture of emptiness. The Boötes void remains a benchmark, a calibration point, a reminder that the largest voids are not mere footnotes but central chapters. They are as real as galaxies, as essential as stars, as profound as black holes. They are the counterpoint in the grand fugue of creation. And in the end, when we reflect on the Boötes void, we confront not only astronomy but ourselves. For to think about it is to confront silence without fear, absence without despair. It is to accept that the universe is not a stage designed for our comfort, but a reality vast enough to stretch imagination. The Boötes void is emptiness, yes, but emptiness that teaches, emptiness that frames, emptiness that reveals. In contemplating it, we learn that meaning is not confined to what shines, can also be found in what does not. The Boötes void is not only a landmark of cosmic structure, but also a reminder of the strange economy of the universe. Matter, like wealth, is unevenly distributed. Some places are rich with galaxies, blazing clusters where hundreds or thousands of star systems collide in endless drama. Other places, like Boötes, are poor, with only the barest trace of light across their yawning volume. Yet it is in the contrast between the two that the universe achieves balance. The void is not wasted. It is integral. It ensures that the overall shape of the cosmos is one of diversity, pockets of abundance surrounded by oceans of scarcity. This cosmic inequality tells us something profound. Randomness at the beginning can blossom into extraordinary variety. In the first moments after the Big Bang, fluctuations no larger than quantum ripples were stretched by inflation to astronomical scales. Some regions began slightly denser, others slightly emptier. Over billions of years, those tiny differences amplified. Dense regions became clusters, walls, and filaments. Sparse regions became voids. The Boötes void is one of the most dramatic results of this amplification. A whisper of quantum randomness inflated into a cathedral of silence spanning hundreds of millions of light years. The Boötes void also gives us an unparalleled testing ground for one of the great puzzles of cosmology: the relationship between matter and expansion. In dense regions, gravity slows expansion. In voids, expansion accelerates. By measuring how galaxies move around Boötes, astronomers can determine whether Einstein's general relativity holds true on these scales or whether subtle deviations might be hiding. Some theories suggest that gravity itself could behave differently across cosmic distances. If that is so, voids like Boötes would be the stage where such differences become most visible. And then there is dark energy, the invisible force responsible for cosmic acceleration. Voids magnify its influence. Where matter is scarce, dark energy dominates, stretching space at a faster rate. Observing how Boötes expands is like watching dark energy at work under ideal laboratory conditions. It is as if the universe has gifted us with a giant chamber designed to make the invisible visible. Studying this void is therefore not only about mapping emptiness. It is about probing the force that will shape the ultimate fate of the cosmos. Even the few galaxies that inhabit Boötes tell stories written nowhere else. Some show unusually extended disks, unperturbed by collisions. Others reveal star-forming regions fueled by reservoirs of gas that would have been stripped away in crowded clusters. A few exhibit exotic morphologies, as though solitude had encouraged eccentric growth. These galaxies are like isolated species evolving on remote islands. Darwin's finches writ across light years. They are precious laboratories, teaching us how life, even at the galactic scale, adapts to environment. The Boötes void also sharpens the boundary between what we can imagine and what we can prove. For centuries, humans filled unknown spaces with myth. Terra incognita on maps invited sea monsters. Blank regions of sky invited gods and spirits. Today, our myths are different. Some wonder if voids might be the handiwork of advanced civilizations, clearing regions of matter for purposes beyond our comprehension. There is no evidence for this, but the very fact that we ask shows our instinct to assign meaning to absence. We struggle with the idea that nothingness can simply be. And yet, the Boötes void insists on being exactly that, nothingness as natural law. And still, we find wonder in it. Imagine drifting inside Boötes, far from its sparse galaxies. The sky would be almost black, the stars of your own galaxy the only lights close enough to matter. Beyond, a handful of galaxies might glow faintly, tiny sparks against the void. The silence would be absolute. No great arcs of clustered galaxies, no broad river of Milky Way stretching overhead, only emptiness. The experience would be unsettling, but also profound. To exist in such a place would be to live in a permanent meditation on solitude. Yet solitude does not equal futility. The Boötes void, though empty, is not meaningless. It is a cosmic archive, preserving conditions closer to the early universe. By examining its shape, its galaxies, its expansion, we reconstruct the story of creation. It is a paradox. The largest nothing becomes one of the richest sources of information. Its emptiness is knowledge. The silence is data. Its darkness is revelation. What, then, does the Boötes void ultimately teach us? That absence is not the enemy of meaning. That silence is not the negation of song. That emptiness is not the denial of creation. Rather, all are parts of a greater whole. The Boötes void is as real, as necessary, as the galaxies it lacks. It is the negative space that allows the cosmic painting to have shape, the pause that allows the symphony of stars to have rhythm, the shadow that allows light to have depth. And in contemplating it, we are reminded of something else, that the universe is not designed to comfort us. It is designed to be itself. It does not owe us warmth, or abundance, or familiarity. It offers instead truth, and that truth includes silence on scales beyond comprehension. Our task is not to resist it, but to understand it. To accept the Boötes void is to accept the universe on its own terms. In the end, the Boötes void is not a failure of creation. It is creation, expressed in another form. It is the cosmos saying that emptiness has as much place as fullness, that absence is as real as presence, that silence belongs alongside sound. It is not a hole in the universe, it is part of its design. The Boötes void, though empty of galaxies, is full of consequences. Its presence reshapes how matter flows, how light travels, how time is perceived. Galaxies at its rim are influenced not only by each other but by the emptiness pressing outward. Their trajectories are bent by the absence behind them. The void pushes as much as clusters pull. It is a reminder that even nothing has gravity's shadow, that the universe is defined not only by what exists but by where it does not. To modern cosmologists, voids like Boötes are not gaps in knowledge but keys to it. They provide some of the cleanest environments for testing the geometry of the universe. In crowded regions, interactions are chaotic. In voids, the physics is stark, uncluttered, easier to measure. By studying Boötes, astronomers refine values of the Hubble constant, probe the effects of dark energy, and even test alternative theories of gravity. Emptiness, once feared as meaningless, has become one of science's sharpest instruments. In simulations, the Boötes void emerges naturally. Run the clock from the Big Bang forward and matter collapses along filaments, leaving behind vast caverns. Yet each simulation paints subtle differences. Some show Boötes-like voids forming more often than others. Some predict galaxies inside that we do not yet see. Comparing these models with reality helps us narrow the possibilities, ruling out ideas that fail to match observation. The Boötes void thus acts like a giant calibration point for the entire history of the cosmos. Its silence is a test we must pass to confirm our theories. Its geometry fascinates still. Most voids are ragged, but Boötes is unusually round. That roundness may be chance, the statistical product of billions of random fluctuations. Or it may hint at deeper structure, symmetries seated in the earliest seconds of inflation, written into the fabric of spacetime itself. If the latter is true, the Boötes void is not only a region of emptiness but a relic of the most primordial physics, a fossil from a time when the universe was younger than a heartbeat. To study its shape is to peer across nearly all of time. Galaxies inside Boötes are often dwarfs, faintly glowing systems that survive like lanterns on a dark plain. Their stars burn slowly, unhurried by encounters. Many hold large reserves of pristine gas, unpolluted by the constant recycling of denser regions. These galaxies may be among the purest laboratories for understanding how stars form in isolation. Observing them is like studying a language spoken by only a few voices in the world, a dialect of creation preserved by solitude. Imagine what it would be like to stand on a planet orbiting one of those stars. The night sky would feel profoundly empty. Your own galaxy might stretch faintly across the heavens, but beyond it only a few distant smudges would appear. The idea of billions of galaxies so clear to us would never occur. Your myths might describe the universe as finite, your science might measure horizons that ended too soon. The Boötes void shapes not only galaxies but the very possibility of knowledge. A mind born in its depths would face horizons that discouraged curiosity. The fact that we exist outside it is not trivial. It is fortune, perhaps even necessity. The Boötes void also pushes us to reconsider what we mean by structure. To most, structure suggests solidity, walls, filaments, clusters. But the universe is as much defined by voids as by matter. The web exists because of contrast, the way lace exists because of holes. Boötes is one of the grandest holes, a negative form that defines the positive. Without it, the web would not stand out. With it, the web gains coherence, clarity, meaning. Structure is not only what is there, but what is not. And when we contemplate the Boötes void, we confront again the question of destiny. Dark energy ensures that expansion accelerates, and voids are the natural winners of this cosmic race. They will grow, merging into larger and larger cavities, swallowing filaments, stretching across unimaginable gulfs. In trillions of years, the universe will be mostly void. Galaxies will retreat into isolated clusters, separated by expanses so vast that even light will never bridge them. The Boötes void is not anomaly but forecast. It is tomorrow glimpsed today, yet there is beauty in this inevitability. The Boötes void is not hostile, it is serene. The silence is not absence, it is balance. It tells us that the universe is not a uniform fog but a composition, a pattern, a design written in contrast. To fear it is to miss its meaning. To embrace it is to understand that the universe is not obliged to give us comfort, only truth. And truth is deeper than comfort. What, then, is the lesson of the Boötes void? That even in the largest emptiness, meaning abides. That even in silence, knowledge speaks. That even in darkness, understanding shines. The void is not nothing. It is context, contrast, revelation. It is the pause that allows the universe to breathe, the chamber that makes the cosmic cathedral echo. The Boötes void is emptiness, but emptiness full of meaning. The Boötes void stands as a challenge not only to astronomers but to imagination itself. When we speak of distances measured in hundreds of millions of light-years, language falters. Numbers alone cannot convey the magnitude, so we turn to metaphor. We say the Boötes void could swallow thousands of Milky Ways and still have room left. We say it is a desert where galaxies are grains of sand scattered across a continent. Yet even these images fall short. The reality is beyond scale, beyond comprehension. And still, somehow, we comprehend it. That paradox, our smallness and our capacity to imagine vastness, is perhaps the most remarkable part of the story. The Boötes void is also a reminder that the universe has no obligation to be hospitable. It offers no guarantees of light, no promises of neighbors. For every crowded cluster like Virgo or Coma, there are expanses like Boötes where galaxies live in exile. To exist in such a place would be to face horizons stripped of grandeur. It forces us to acknowledge how fragile our perspective is, how dependent our sense of cosmic belonging is on our environment. If the Boötes void teaches humility in scale, it also teaches gratitude in circumstance. And yet, this cavern of darkness is not void of significance. Its very emptiness is a map of history. It reveals how matter flowed after the Big Bang, how gravity and expansion sculpted the universe into a web. Its rare galaxies tell us how solitude shapes evolution. Its geometry allows us to test the deepest laws of physics. The Boötes void is proof that even silence has stories, even nothingness has lessons. Cosmologists now use voids as cosmological rulers. By measuring their sizes and comparing them across time, they trace how the universe expands. This void cosmology complements other methods like supernova observations and the cosmic microwave background. The Boötes void, because of its vastness, sits at the extreme end of the distribution, anchoring the scale. It is the benchmark by which smaller voids are measured, the largest chamber in the cathedral of emptiness. Dark matter, too, reveals itself through voids. Though we cannot see it directly, we know it shapes how galaxies form and where they cluster. In voids, the scaffolding is bare. The few galaxies we find cling to invisible threads, their distribution betraying the dark matter beneath. By mapping void galaxies, astronomers sketch outlines of the unseen. The Boötes void, in its sparseness, is one of the clearest canvases for this hidden architecture. The fewer the distractions, the sharper the lines of what cannot be seen. But there is more to the Boötes void than science. There is the encounter with silence on a scale we cannot inhabit but can still feel. Imagine a spacecraft drifting through it. Decades pass, then centuries, with only the faint glow of a distant galaxy marking time. The sky is black, the silence total, the journey endless. Such a vision unsettles and inspires in equal measure. It is terrifying because it reveals our isolation, but it is inspiring because it reveals our endurance. We can imagine this voyage. We can tell its story. That act itself is triumph. Voids also echo within human thought. Philosophers have long pondered the meaning of nothingness. Is emptiness absence, or is it potential? The Boötes void gives a cosmic answer. Emptiness is form. It is part of the pattern. Just as the spaces in a sculpture define its beauty, the Boötes void defines the cosmic web. To deny it is to deny the structure itself. To accept it is to accept that nothingness is as real, as necessary, as everything we hold dear. In time, the Boötes void will grow. Dark energy will stretch it, swallowing more galaxies, deepening its silence. Billions of years from now, it will be larger still, its loneliness absolute. What is today extraordinary will tomorrow be typical. The universe will, in effect, become one great void dotted with shrinking islands of light. Observers in that far future, if any exist, will see skies even emptier than those inside Boötes today. Their universe will appear finite, bounded, starved. They will not know what we know. They will not see the cosmic web. The Boötes void is therefore not only a feature of space, it is a prophecy of time. And yet, while the void grows, so does our understanding. We are alive in a brief window of cosmic history when galaxies are still visible, when the web can still be mapped, when voids can still be measured. We are witnesses to abundance, even as we study emptiness. To know the Boötes void is to know how rare and precious this moment is. We are the cosmos reflecting on itself, aware of its silence even as we sing within it. In the end, the Boötes void is not just an empty place. It is a symbol of balance, a lesson in contrast, a challenge to imagination. It is the universe reminding us that creation is not only what shines, but also what does not. That meaning is not only in presence, but also in absence. That beauty is not only in stars, but also in the darkness between them. The Boötes void is silence, yes, but it is also song, a song we hear not with ears but with thought. The Boötes void reveals not only the scale of absence but also the fragility of connection. Along its edges, galaxies cluster in walls so immense they almost defy imagination. Sheets of light stretching across hundreds of millions of light-years, glowing borders that define the void like the shores of a cosmic ocean. These walls are among the most densely populated regions in the universe, crowded superclusters where galaxies collide, merge, and ignite starbursts. And yet, just beyond, lies silence. The juxtaposition is startling. Abundance pressed against emptiness, creation framed by vacancy. This stark boundary challenges us to think about the role of environment in shaping everything from galaxies to civilizations. In rich clusters, galaxies are forced into constant interaction. They strip gas from one another, feed their central black holes, and blaze with bursts of new stars. In the void, galaxies evolve in solitude, unhurried, undisturbed. They form fewer stars, but they form them steadily, quietly, over billions of years. These differences show us that the universe is not governed by universal fate alone, but by local circumstance. Destiny, even on the cosmic scale, depends on neighborhood. The Boötes void also serves as a gravitational lens of absence. When light from the distant universe crosses it, the expansion inside alters the journey, slightly shifting its frequency. By measuring these distortions, astronomers test whether the universe's acceleration is uniform or whether voids act as amplifiers of cosmic expansion. The results so far confirm that dark energy pervades all of space equally, but the Boötes void magnifies our sensitivity to it, offering us a clearer look at the invisible hand shaping the cosmos. Voids like Boötes remind us that most of the cosmos is inhospitable not just to life, but even to light. Galaxies occupy less than a few percent of the universe's volume. The rest is void. To live in a galaxy is to live in an oasis, a fragile pocket of structure in an otherwise endless desert. From this perspective, the Boötes void is not an anomaly but a revelation of truth. Emptiness is the norm, presence the exception. We live not in a universe of stars, but in a universe of voids with a scattering of stars between. And yet, for all its immensity, the Boötes void still humbles us in another way. It is vast, yes, but it is not the universe. Beyond it lie filaments, clusters, and other voids. Beyond those, still more. The observable universe is a mosaic of billions of such structures, stretching across 93 billion light-years. The Boötes void is one cavern in an infinite labyrinth. To focus on it is to glimpse the whole, a cosmos built not of uniformity but of pattern, contrast, and rhythm. There is also something almost spiritual in contemplating this abyss. Human cultures across time have sought meaning in emptiness. The silence between drumbeats, the pause between breaths, the stillness between words. The Boötes void magnifies that metaphor into reality. It is the silence between galaxies, the pause in the universal song, the stillness of creation itself. To contemplate it is to meditate on the value of emptiness, not as loss but as essence. From another angle, the Boötes void also illustrates the limits of perception. If we were born within it, our instruments might fail to detect the greater universe. The cosmic web might remain invisible, hidden beyond the horizon of our technology. Our science would be stunted by solitude, our imagination perhaps bounded by darkness. This realization deepens our gratitude for where we are. Our ability to know the cosmos depends not only on curiosity but on cosmic luck. We are fortunate enough to live in a galaxy rich with neighbors, fortunate enough to see the web stretch across the sky. Astronomers now use voids as probes of the early universe. The shapes of voids reflect the distribution of matter moments after the Big Bang. By cataloging thousands of them, we reconstruct the primordial map of creation. The Boötes void is the flagship of this fleet, the most dramatic example of how emptiness writes history. This cavernous span is a fossil, a record of quantum fluctuations inflated into macroscopic reality. It is as much a relic of the beginning as the cosmic microwave background itself. And what of the end? As the universe ages, voids will expand, filaments will thin, clusters will shrink into isolation. The cosmos will grow quieter, lonelier, darker. The Boötes void is therefore not only a present fact but a future forecast. It is the universe showing us its trajectory, towards silence, towards separation, towards solitude. To know it is to glimpse tomorrow, written across millions of light-years today. Still, the Boötes void leaves us with wonder. For even in its silence, there is light. Even in its emptiness, there are galaxies. Even in its darkness, there is meaning. It teaches us that the universe is not simple, not uniform, not comforting, but beautiful beyond measure. Beauty not because it flatters us, but because it humbles us. Beauty not because it is full, but because it dares to be empty. The Boötes void is more than an absence. It is an amplifier. It magnifies our awareness of scale, of perspective, of fragility. To gaze at it through data is to feel the weight of contrast between what is and what is not. For every galaxy glimmering at its edge, there are millions of cubic light-years where nothing shines, where silence holds dominion. This dominance of silence is not exception but rule. The Boötes void only makes visible what the cosmos has always been. A universe where absence outweighs presence, where nothing outnumbers everything. But silence does not mean stillness. Deep within the void, space itself continues to expand, carrying its scattered galaxies farther apart. Stars within those galaxies are born, age, and die, releasing heavy elements that drift through interstellar gas. Black holes feed quietly in their centers, shaping dynamics invisible from afar. Even in solitude, life of a kind continues. The Boötes void is empty on the grand scale, but full of drama on the small. Every star within it still burns. Every orbit still moves. Every photon still races outward. The void is quiet, but never mute. The Boötes void also forces cosmology to sharpen its definitions. When we speak of emptiness, what do we mean? It is not absolute vacuum. It contains dark matter, radiation, scattered atoms, and rare galaxies. Its density is simply far below average. That difference, however, is enough to transform it. Like a valley in a landscape, its shape influences the flow of everything around it. The void is not a hole. It is a depression in the gravitational fabric, sculpted by initial conditions, maintained by expansion. To map it is to sketch the contour lines of the universe itself. Surveys like Sloan and DESI have made these contours clearer than ever. Thousands of voids are now catalogued, each one a chamber of silence in the grand foam of space. Boötes is the colossus among them, the cathedral that dwarfs all others. But together, they reveal that the universe is mostly negative space. What we once thought of as scattered galaxies are, in truth, boundary markers of hollow matter clings to filaments not because voids are accidental, but because voids demand it. Absence carves presence. This idea resonates beyond science. In human experience, too, absence often defines meaning. Silence makes words sharper. Shadows give light its depth. Gaps in memory shape stories. The Boötes void is a cosmic-scale version of this principle. It tells us that to understand the universe, we must learn not only to measure stars but to measure silence. Knowledge comes not only from filling but from framing. Voids are also critical for understanding the fate of structure. As they expand, they stretch the filaments around them, thinning them over time. The Boötes void, by its enormity, accelerates this process on a grand scale. Its influence reaches beyond its borders, subtly tugging on neighboring galaxies, shaping the flow of cosmic rivers. In this sense, it is not a passive hollow but an active force. The universe evolves not just through what gathers, but through what empties. The galaxies that remain inside Boötes may carry clues to an even stranger question. Could voids influence the habitability of planets? In dense clusters, radiation from frequent supernovae or active black holes might sterilize regions, making life harder to sustain. In void galaxies, isolation may provide calm. Fewer collisions, less violence, longer stability. Perhaps solitude is not only limitation, but protection. If life exists in those lonely systems, it may have flourished in peace, under skies dimmer but safer than ours. From another perspective, the Boötes void illustrates the relativity of perspective itself. To us, it is emptiness. To an inhabitant within, it is the universe entire. Their horizon is their truth. Our horizon, larger, is ours. Each observer sees the universe framed by circumstance, and the Boötes void magnifies this relativity to the extreme. It reminds us that truth is scale-dependent, that knowledge depends not only on questions but on position. Where you stand in the cosmos shapes what you can know. And so the Boötes void is as much mirror as map. It reflects our curiosity back to us, asking whether we are willing to find wonder in absence. It shows us that science is not only the study of what shines but also of what does not. It teaches that silence is not to be feared, but to be understood. It is a cosmic koan, an immense riddle written across the stars, its answer lying not in fullness but in emptiness embraced. What will become of it? In 1 trillion years, Boötes will be larger, darker, quieter. Its galaxies, already sparse, may fade into dwarfs and remnants. Its stars will burn out, leaving behind cold embers and black holes. The void will approach true silence, the kind that endures beyond measure. And yet, in the record of our time, in the light we capture and the maps we draw, it will persist. Knowledge outlives silence. Understanding outlives emptiness. The Boötes void will be remembered not as a whole, but as a revelation. For in the end, the Boötes void teaches us the most paradoxical lesson of all. That nothing is not nothing. It is structure. It is balance. It is history. It is destiny. It is as real, as necessary, as galaxies and stars. To deny it is to deny half of creation. To accept it is to see the universe whole. The Boötes void may look like a single anomaly, a vast emptiness in an otherwise populated sky, but it is actually a window into the universal rhythm of presence and absence. Every survey, every simulation confirms that voids are not rare, they are the rule. They make up more than 80% of the cosmic volume. Matter, the galaxies we see, is the exception, not the norm. What makes Boötes remarkable is scale. A void so immense that it dwarfs imagination, demanding that we accept nothingness as the very fabric of creation. Inside its borders, time flows differently in perception if not in physics. In dense regions, galaxies collide and evolve rapidly. In Boötes, the pace slows. The few galaxies drift in relative quiet, their gas undisturbed, their histories stretched across billions of years. To look into this void is to look into cosmic patience, a reminder that the universe is not in a hurry. It allows silence to last, evolution to pause, structures to remain simple for eons. Boötes is not merely an emptiness but a testament to duration, to endurance, to the long arc of solitude. And yet, this solitude has consequences. Without frequent mergers, galaxies in voids grow smaller. Without neighboring giants to stir their gas, star formation dwindles. Many void galaxies appear faint, irregular, incomplete, as though they were sketches left unfinished. But in their incompleteness lies purity. They may preserve primordial traits erased elsewhere. Their chemical compositions, their rotations, their quiet disks tell stories closer to the beginning of time. They are not lesser galaxies but rare archives, hidden in silence, whispering of origins. The Boötes void also sharpens our understanding of cosmic fate. As dark energy continues to accelerate expansion, voids will win the race against filaments. They will expand faster, their emptiness consuming the spaces between galaxies. Over time, what is now structure will dissolve into isolation. The future universe will resemble Boötes more than it resembles our present web. What we see in Boötes today is a prototype of tomorrow's cosmos. Vast, dark, and silent. To contemplate it is to glimpse destiny. For human beings, this glimpse is humbling. We are a young species, living on a small planet, orbiting an average star, in a modest galaxy, at the edge of a filament in an infinite web. And yet, from this perch, we can conceive of the Boötes void. We can measure it, describe it, imagine what it feels like to cross. We cannot traverse it physically, but mentally we bridge its hundreds of millions of light years. That act, imagination crossing emptiness, is as significant as any star. The Boötes void also invites us to expand our idea of beauty. We are conditioned to find beauty in fullness. A sky ablaze with stars, a galaxy glowing in spiral arms, a cluster bursting with light. But Boötes teaches us that beauty also lies in the stark, in the spare, in the minimal. Its vast hollow is a sculpture of silence, a masterpiece of absence. It is the universe painting with shadow instead of light, with pause instead of sound. The Boötes void is not barren. It is austere. Its beauty is not obvious, but it is profound. Some philosophers have argued that nothingness is an illusion, that to name it is already to give it form, and thus it ceases to be nothing. The Boötes void seems to support this view. It is emptiness, yes, but it is structured, measurable, influential. It bends light, alters expansion, shapes galaxies. It is not absence but presence of another kind. A presence of quiet, a presence of balance, a presence of scale. In contemplating it, we realize that even the greatest silence is still a voice, if we learn to listen. And so the Boötes void becomes more than a cosmic anomaly. It becomes a lesson in perspective. It tells us that the universe is not designed to answer our hopes but to express its truth. That truth includes silence, absence, emptiness on unimaginable scales. But it also includes us, small beings capable of understanding, of storytelling, of turning silence into song. The Boötes void is not a void in our comprehension. It is a mirror, reflecting our ability to find meaning even where meaning seems denied. In the final measure, the Boötes void is not a hole in the universe. It is the universe itself, revealed in one of its grandest forms. It is the pause that makes the music of galaxies possible, the darkness that makes their light meaningful, the emptiness that gives creation its shape. To study it is to accept that nothingness is as real as something, that silence is as eloquent as speech, that absence is as powerful as presence. And when we step back, we see the truth. The Boötes void is not empty. It is full of lessons, full of meaning, full of wonder. The Boötes void is not only an astronomical curiosity but also a compass, pointing us toward the deeper questions of existence. It forces us to ask, what is the nature of emptiness? Is it truly empty, or is it simply unseen? For within its darkness lies the unseen majority of the universe. Dark matter and dark energy. These forces, invisible yet dominant, flow through the void like hidden currents in a black sea. We cannot see them, but we feel their influence. Galaxies cling to faint filaments of dark matter even here, and the expansion of the void itself is driven by the pressure of dark energy. In this sense, the Boötes void is not empty at all. It is full of the invisible. The physics of voids has become one of the frontiers of cosmology. By measuring how light from the cosmic microwave background is distorted as it passes through them, astronomers test whether dark energy behaves consistently across space and time. The Boötes void, by virtue of its size, becomes a magnifying glass for these effects. It is the closest we have to a natural laboratory built on absence, an experiment in which the universe itself is the architect. To study Boötes is to probe the very fabric of spacetime. Its history, too, is written in silence. The void began as a slightly underdense region in the early universe, a place where matter was scarce. As time passed, gravity pulled matter toward denser regions, leaving Boötes even emptier. Expansion amplified this difference until the void became the colossus we know today. This is the story of the cosmos writ large. Small fluctuations magnified into vast structures, chance differences inflated into destiny. The Boötes void is a monument to the power of beginnings, a reminder that the universe is a storyteller, and every story begins with a whisper. But Boötes also provokes another kind of reflection, a human one. If we imagine a civilization evolving within one of its scattered galaxies, their perspective on reality would be radically different. Their night sky would be sparse, their telescopes would reveal little beyond their local stars. Perhaps they would never guess at the existence of billions of galaxies beyond their darkness. Their myths might tell of a lonely cosmos, their science confined by horizons that offered no clue of connection. In a sense, the Boötes void is a thought experiment in perception. It asks, how much of what we know depends on where we stand? Even within our vantage point, Boötes changes how we see ourselves. We live in a filament, surrounded by galaxies, and we take that abundance for granted. But Boötes shows us that abundance is fragile, that connection is rare. The universe is mostly silence, and our sense of community among galaxies is a privilege of geography. To be aware of that privilege is to feel gratitude. To study the Boötes void is to recognize that our place is not inevitable. It is fortune. In simulations, voids like Boötes reveal the hidden architecture of the cosmos. Galaxies cluster along invisible scaffolds of dark matter, leaving voids behind. Boötes is one of the clearest imprints of this architecture, a hollow that proves the web exists. Without voids, the web would be formless. With them, it is undeniable. The Boötes void is the negative image of creation, the shadow that defines the light. The few galaxies inside Boötes are not merely oddities. They are treasures. Their chemical compositions may preserve the memory of the early universe. Their star formation histories may reveal how isolation shapes destiny. Their unusual morphologies may challenge our assumptions of galactic evolution. They are cosmic fossils, relics of what galaxies might become when left alone. Studying them is like finding rare species in the most remote corners of Earth. Fragile, unique, irreplaceable. The Boötes void also teaches us about time. To cross it at the speed of light would take hundreds of millions of years, longer than the age of complex life on Earth. In that time, mountains would rise and erode, oceans would shift, species would appear and vanish. Civilizations would rise and fall countless times. And yet, for light, this journey is but a single step across the void. Time in Boötes takes on new meaning. It is not measured in years or centuries, but in epochs beyond human comprehension. The void is a clock of patience, ticking on scales we can only imagine. As we look ahead, the Boötes void becomes a mirror of our future. The universe is expanding, and dark energy ensures that voids will grow. Filaments will thin, clusters will shrink, and the cosmic web will unravel. In trillions of years, galaxies will vanish beyond horizons, leaving every observer in a void of their own. The Boötes void is not anomaly but prophecy. It is the universe telling us what lies ahead, a future defined less by connection, more by solitude. And yet, even this solitude need not be despair. For Boötes shows us that even in emptiness, there is beauty. Even in silence, there is rhythm. Even in absence, there is truth. The void is not meaningless. It is meaning of another kind. It is the balance that makes structure possible, the silence that gives sound its power, the shadow that gives light its depth. The Boötes void is not an emptiness to be feared, but a presence to be understood. The Boötes void confronts us with an unsettling truth. The universe is not built for comfort, but for contrast. It is not designed to surround us with light, but to weave light and darkness into a single fabric. And this fabric is not evenly woven. Some regions blaze with billions of galaxies, others echo with silence. Boötes is the loudest echo we have found, an emptiness so vast that it feels intentional, though it is purely natural. Its very scale bends our expectations of what the cosmos should be. For scientists, Boötes is more than an oddity. It is a testing ground for some of the biggest questions we can ask. How did structure form after the Big Bang? How does dark energy stretch space? Does gravity behave the same way on intergalactic scales as it does in our solar system? Voids like Boötes are where these mysteries become visible. In their silence, we measure the laws of the cosmos. The Boötes void is not only a challenge to perception, it is a laboratory for truth. What makes Boötes especially striking is its geometry. Many voids are irregular, stretched into ellipses, jagged at the edges. But Boötes is astonishingly round, like a bubble carved into the web. Its spherical symmetry suggests that its initial underdensity was unusually uniform. That uniformity was magnified by expansion until it became a near-perfect hollow. This roundness matters. It makes Boötes a natural experiment for testing how voids grow. By comparing its symmetry with predictions, we learn how well our theories of inflation and cosmic evolution hold. The shape is as revealing as its emptiness. Even its borders are instructive. The walls that define Boötes are among the most luminous regions in the universe, packed with galaxies, clusters, and superclusters. The juxtaposition is dramatic. Walls of abundance encasing a heart of silence. This duality is the essence of the cosmic web, where density and emptiness live side by side, each making the other visible. Without the void, the wall would lose its significance. Without the wall, the void would lose its shape. Together, they form a harmony of opposites. Boötes also reframes how we think about cosmic history. In the early universe, everything was smoother. Galaxies had not yet formed, voids had not yet grown. Over billions of years, matter flowed like rivers into filaments, leaving behind hollows. Boötes is one of the largest of these hollows, a monument to billions of years of flow. It is not a snapshot, but a story, the story of how small fluctuations became vast structures, of how randomness became architecture. To study Boötes is to read a chapter of the universe's autobiography, written in silence instead of words. And then comes the philosophical dimension. If the Boötes void teaches us anything, it is that nothingness is never empty. Its absence reveals the hidden presence of laws, forces, and patterns. Its silence amplifies the music of galaxies elsewhere. Its emptiness gives us perspective on our own fullness. We are accustomed to fearing nothingness, to treating it as loss. But Boötes shows us that nothingness is context, not failure. Without it, creation would lose its contrast. Without it, the cosmos would lose its meaning. Imagine, again, standing on a planet inside Boötes. The sky would be darker than any sky we know. The river of the Milky Way would not dominate the heavens, for there would be no rich galactic band. Beyond your stars, only scattered smudges would appear. The sense of isolation would be overwhelming. Perhaps your species would grow inward-looking, focused on its own world, never suspecting the wider universe beyond. Or perhaps, in the face of silence, your imagination would burn brighter, dreaming of unseen wonders. The Boötes void is not only an astronomical structure but a thought experiment in perspective. It shows us how much our worldview depends on what we can see. From Earth, we have the privilege of seeing galaxies spread across the sky, and so we imagine connection. From Boötes, one might imagine loneliness. Both views are true depending on where you stand. This relativity of perception is as profound as the void itself. It teaches us that reality is not only what is, but also how it appears, and that appearance is shaped by position. In this way, the Boötes void is a lesson not only in physics but in philosophy. On cosmic timescales, Boötes also tells us about destiny. The universe is not static. Dark energy accelerates expansion, and voids like Boötes are its clearest expression. They are regions where expansion wins over gravity, where emptiness grows at the expense of structure. As time passes, Boötes will become larger, emptier, darker. Its galaxies will drift farther apart, until their light no longer reaches each other. The Boötes void is not a relic of the past alone. It is a blueprint of the future. In its silence, we hear the echo of tomorrow. And yet, for all its enormity, Boötes remains knowable. We can map it, measure it, describe it. Our instruments translate silence into data, emptiness into structure, nothingness into knowledge. This act of knowing transforms the void. It is no longer just absence. It is meaning. We have turned emptiness into understanding, silence into story. This is our triumph as a species, to find wonder not only in what is, but in what is not. The Boötes void, then, is more than a void. It is a mirror of the universe's nature. Balanced, patterned, paradoxical. It is proof that absence is as real as presence, that silence is as loud as sound, that nothing is never nothing. To contemplate it is to accept that the universe is not built to comfort us, but to challenge us, and in that challenge, to inspire us. The Boötes void is not just a gap in the cosmic web. It is a demonstration of how the universe writes its story in negative space. We are accustomed to thinking of creation as the presence of something. Stars, galaxies, planets, life. But the Boötes void insists that creation also lies in what is not there. Its cavernous hollow reveals the architecture of everything else, the way silence reveals the shape of music. Without voids, the universe would be a blur, an undifferentiated fog. With them, it has form. For astronomers, Boötes is not empty data but essential evidence. Its very existence validates models of structure formation. Inflation, the exponential expansion of space in the universe's first moments, stretched quantum ripples across vast scales. Over time, matter gathered in some places and drained from others. Boötes is one of the most dramatic results of this imbalance. By studying its size and shape, scientists refine our understanding of inflation itself, probing physics that occurred in the first fraction of a second after the Big Bang. Thus, a void hundreds of millions of light-years wide speaks of a moment when the universe was smaller than an atom. Boötes also illustrates the hidden dominance of dark matter. Ordinary matter alone could not produce such structure. It would have dispersed too evenly, smoothed out by radiation pressure in the early universe. Dark matter, cold and invisible, clumped first, dragging ordinary matter along. The filaments and voids we see today are drawn on this invisible scaffolding. Boötes is the absence left when dark matter gathered elsewhere. To contemplate it is to realize that we live in a universe where the visible is only an afterthought. The true design lies in what we cannot see. The galaxies that do exist inside Boötes carry this truth in their very being. They orbit halos of dark matter, faint echoes of the invisible. Their shapes are often irregular, their star formation unremarkable, their brilliance muted, and yet they endure. They remind us that life, whether stellar or biological, can persist in solitude. They are the hermits of the cosmos, witnesses to the power of environment in shaping destiny. To study them is to study resilience. There is also the philosophical riddle. If most of the universe is void, what does that say about the meaning of existence? We crave fullness, but the cosmos offers us silence. We yearn for abundance, but it gives us scarcity. The Boötes void magnifies this paradox, confronting us with an expanse so vast and so empty that it challenges our instinct to find purpose in presence. And yet, paradoxically, we do find purpose. We turn its silence into metaphor, its emptiness into lesson. The Boötes void shows us that meaning is not in what is given, but in what is sought. From a scientific standpoint, voids like Boötes are becoming crucial tools. New surveys use them to measure baryon acoustic oscillations, the ripples from sound waves in the early universe frozen into the cosmic web. The sizes of voids encode this signal, offering another way to measure the expansion of the cosmos. In other words, emptiness carries the imprint of the first sound, the primordial music of creation. Boötes is therefore not silence alone. It is resonance. It carries, across billions of years, the faint echo of the universe's birth. Imagining the Boötes void as a journey is also instructive. Picture a spacecraft entering from its edge, leaving behind the crowded filaments. At first, galaxies still appear in clusters. Then they thin, then they become rare sparks. Days turn to years, years to millennia, and the sky grows darker still. Eventually, only your own galaxy remains bright. The silence becomes overwhelming. Navigation itself becomes abstract. With so few reference points, direction loses meaning. You are not moving through space so much as sinking into stillness. This thought experiment reminds us how tied we are to landmarks, how much we depend on presence to define orientation. In Boötes, orientation evaporates. And yet, the Boötes void is not chaos. It is structured absence. Its roundness, its borders, its faint galaxies all speak of order, not disorder. It is emptiness with geometry. It is silence with form. This distinction matters. It shows us that nothingness is not random. It is patterned. The Boötes void is as carefully defined as any cluster, as deliberately shaped as any galaxy. Its meaning lies not in being blank, but in being balanced. The Boötes void also speaks to the future of discovery. As telescopes improve, we will map it in finer detail, detecting galaxies too faint to see today, tracing filaments of dark matter with gravitational lensing, measuring expansion with exquisite precision. Each improvement will reveal that the void is not as empty as we thought. Emptiness always contains more than we imagine. Boötes will continue to shrink in ignorance even as it grows in reality. This is the paradox of science. The more we know, the larger our questions become. In the end, Boötes is both physical and symbolic. It is an astronomical fact and a human metaphor. It is absence made visible, silence given scale, nothingness turned into lesson. To study it is to acknowledge that the universe is not built to satisfy our expectations. It is stranger, larger, and more paradoxical than we can imagine. And in that strangeness lies wonder. The Boötes void is not the absence of meaning. It is the invitation to create it. The Boötes void is not an error in the universe. It is a revelation of how the universe truly works. At its heart lies a lesson. Order is not built solely from presence, but from contrast. Imagine a painting without negative space, every inch filled with color and form. It would overwhelm the eye, lose coherence, dissolve into chaos. The Boötes void is the negative space of the cosmos, a vast pause that gives clarity to the larger design. It is not lack but structure, not flaw but necessity. Its importance to science continues to grow. Modern surveys don't treat voids as curiosities. They treat them as instruments. By studying how galaxies at their edges align and how voids expand relative to filaments, astronomers extract precise measurements of cosmic acceleration. Boötes, with its colossal size, is the most powerful of these instruments. Its emptiness is not absence of information but an abundance of it, hidden in silence. It is like a blank page that reveals the handwriting of the universe itself. The Boötes void also reframes our sense of proportion. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, seems vast beyond comprehension, with its 100 billion stars. Yet compared to Boötes, it is microscopic, a grain of dust in a cathedral the size of eternity. This scale does not diminish us. It enlarges us in another way. For though we are tiny, our minds can stretch across Boötes, measure it, map it, tell its story. The fact that the human brain, weighing barely 3 pounds, can conceive of a void spanning 330 million light-years is itself miraculous. The Boötes void reminds us not only of our smallness but of our reach. Galaxies in Boötes live quiet lives, but even quietness has a story. Without the chaos of collisions, their evolution is slower, their shapes less dramatic. Some may retain pristine gas reservoirs, unpolluted by generations of starbursts. Others may continue forming stars long after cluster galaxies have gone silent. In these outliers, astronomers see laboratories of what might have been parallel experiments in cosmic evolution. Each void galaxy is a data point, each one a whisper about how solitude shapes destiny. The borders of Boötes, by contrast, are among the most dramatic structures in the known universe. The Hercules supercluster and other dense regions line its edges, forming walls of galaxies so thick that they resemble glowing scars on the fabric of space. These boundaries emphasize the void's immensity, abundance pressed against silence, creation framed by absence. They are the rim of a cosmic crater, testimony to billions of years of gravitational flow. The Boötes void is not isolated. It is defined by its edges. But beyond the science lies the philosophy. To confront Boötes is to confront emptiness as reality. We often think of nothingness as a deficiency, something to be feared or filled. Yet Boötes shows us that nothingness is fertile. It allows galaxies to have context, gives the web its form, provides the contrast that makes meaning possible. In its silence lies eloquence. In its darkness lies clarity. The void is not meaningless. It is meaning of another kind. Consider the role of voids in our own cosmic future. As dark energy continues to stretch space, galaxies will recede beyond one another's horizons. Over trillions of years, clusters will shrink into isolated islands, and voids will dominate the universe. Boötes is not anomaly but preview. It is a snapshot of what the cosmos is becoming. To study it is to peer forward in time, to glimpse the destiny of creation. A universe increasingly defined by emptiness. And yet, that destiny is not tragic. It is profound. Emptiness does not erase meaning. It reshapes it. Even in solitude, galaxies will endure. Even in silence, stars will burn. Even in absence, stories will continue. The Boötes void shows us that the universe persists in creativity, even when stripped of abundance. Its message is not despair but endurance. Imagine traveling through it again, not as an observer but as a participant. Centuries pass in your ship as you drift across blackness. The familiar galaxies recede. The sky grows sparse, until only the faintest pinpricks remain. The silence becomes overwhelming. And yet, in that silence, your imagination grows sharper. You begin to see not absence but possibility. You realize that emptiness is not void of meaning but open to it. The Boötes void becomes not a desert but a canvas, inviting thought, reflection, wonder. Ultimately, the Boötes void is both a scientific fact and a philosophical teacher. It proves our models of structure formation, tests our theories of dark energy, reveals the skeleton of dark matter. But it also challenges us to accept nothingness as part of reality, to see absence not as failure but as form. It is the universe whispering that silence matters, that emptiness counts, that nothing is never nothing. And when we step back, we understand the Boötes void is not a hole in the universe. It is the universe speaking in another language, a language of silence, of absence, of scale. It is not meaningless darkness. It is eloquent emptiness. The Boötes void, though silent, is not static. It breathes with the universe, expanding as space-time stretches, reshaping itself across billions of years. Galaxies at its periphery continue to stream along cosmic filaments, tugged outward by the void's underdensity. This flow, invisible to the eye but measurable in redshifts, is part of the dynamic dance of the cosmos. Boötes is not an empty stage. It is a moving current, a tide of absence that shapes the presence around it. This dynamism is one reason astronomers regard voids as laboratories for the deepest questions. Gravity, dark matter, dark energy, all play differently in emptiness. Boötes magnifies their effects, making the subtle measurable. It is in the silence of Boötes that we can best test whether Einstein's relativity holds on cosmic scales, or whether new physics lurks in the shadows. The void does not whisper answers, it demands sharper questions. Its geometry is equally revealing. The nearly spherical form of Boötes is unusual, a symmetry that invites speculation. Was it simply chance that its initial underdensity was so uniform? Or does its roundness point to deeper processes, fingerprints of inflation, imprinted at the very birth of spacetime? Boötes is a bubble frozen in expansion, its walls written by quantum ripples magnified to cosmic size. In its shape, we glimpse the handwriting of creation. Yet, for all its grandeur, the Boötes void also reveals fragility. The galaxies within are fragile, faint, starved of neighbors. Their growth is stunted, their brilliance muted. Many resemble irregular dwarfs, small and scattered, survivors in a desert. They remind us that abundance is not guaranteed, that even galaxies depend on context. To thrive requires neighbors, collisions, exchange. In solitude, they persist, but persistence is not the same as flourishing. Boötes galaxies endure like desert plants, resilient but scarce. And still, even in this silence, there is life of a kind. Stars are born, burn, and die. Supernovae scatter heavy elements into tenuous gas. Black holes continue their quiet feasts. The void is not empty of story. It is only empty of crowd. Every galaxy in Boötes carries a narrative written in its stars, each one unfolding in solitude. Each one a reminder that creation continues even when unseen. Philosophically, the Boötes void invites us to reframe our view of nothingness. We tend to imagine emptiness as failure, as the absence of what should be. But Boötes suggests another truth. Emptiness is part of balance. Without silence, there is no music. Without shadow, there is no form. Without Boötes, there is no web. Nothingness is not deficiency. It is definition. The Boötes void is the universe teaching us that absence is as essential as presence. And then there is the lesson of time. To cross Boötes at light speed would take longer than life has existed on Earth. Entire epochs pass in the span of such a journey. For us, time is fragile, measured in decades and centuries. For Boötes, time is vast, measured in millions of orbits of stars, in billions of years of expansion. To contemplate it is to accept that human history is a spark, that cosmic history is a flame, and that the void is the dark in which the flame becomes visible. As the universe ages, voids like Boötes will dominate. Filaments will thin, galaxies will scatter, horizons will shrink. The cosmos of the far future will be Boötes writ large, a universe where silence outweighs song, where absence overwhelms presence. And yet, even then, stars will burn. Even then, light will travel. Even then, knowledge will persist, at least for a time. The Boötes void is not only the present. It is a prophecy of tomorrow. But perhaps its greatest gift is perspective. For though Boötes is vast beyond measure, we have measured it. Though it is silent, we have given it a voice. Though it is empty, we have filled it with meaning. From our small planet, orbiting a modest star, we have stretched our minds across hundreds of millions of light years, mapped the silence, and turned nothing into knowledge. That act is the triumph of curiosity, the victory of imagination. So let us return to the question, what is the Boötes void? It is a hollow in space, a bubble in the cosmic web, a cathedral of silence surrounded by walls of light. It is a laboratory of physics, a relic of beginnings, a forecast of endings. It is emptiness made visible, absence made real, silence made eloquent. It is a reminder that the universe is not built to comfort us but to astonish us. And it is proof that even in the greatest darkness, the human mind can find light. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is everything absence can mean. The Boötes void is an expanse so immense that even describing it in terms of light years can feel abstract. Numbers become abstractions, metaphors become inadequate. But perhaps its true power lies not in scale alone, but in what it reveals about the hidden structure of reality. For the Boötes void is not an accident. It is a necessary feature of a universe ruled by gravity, dark matter, and expansion. Its silence is not emptiness. It is balance, a counterweight to the crowded brilliance of clusters and filaments. Cosmologists have learned to see voids as fingerprints of the early universe. The exact sizes, shapes, and alignments of voids are sensitive to the physics of inflation, the mysterious growth spurt that set the cosmos in motion. Boötes, by standing at the extreme, is one of the boldest of those fingerprints. Its immensity encodes the randomness of primordial fluctuations, stretched across billions of light years. By studying Boötes, we do not simply learn about galaxies. We listen for the faint echoes of the first second of time. The Boötes void also reveals the hidden dominance of what we cannot see. Dark matter and dark energy govern its existence. Dark matter sculpted its borders, pulling galaxies into walls and leaving the hollow behind. Dark energy stretches it, amplifying its silence with every passing epoch. We often speak of the universe as a stage of stars, but in truth the stage itself is built of the invisible. Boötes is a spotlight on this truth. Its very emptiness is a monument to forces that shape everything yet remain unseen. Yet the Boötes void is not sterile. The galaxies within, rare as they are, tell unique stories. Some are dwarfs, faint and irregular, glowing only dimly against the void's black. Others appear surprisingly resilient, still forming stars after billions of years. A few even defy expectations, showing extended disks and surprising amounts of gas. These galaxies evolve like solitary wanderers, untouched by the rough and tumble life of clusters. They are the hermits of the cosmos, carrying ancient secrets precisely because they have been left alone. At the edges, the void's borders blaze with light. Superclusters crowd there, walls of galaxies marking the transition from silence to song. To map these edges is to trace the lines of the cosmic web itself, the vast filigree that gives the universe its structure. Boötes is defined by these walls not as a flaw, but as the negative image of their abundance. The web needs voids to exist, just as shadows need light to be seen. For humans, Boötes is also a lesson in humility. We evolved under skies filled with stars, within a galaxy rich with neighbors. Our myths, our philosophies, even our sciences were shaped by this abundance. But Boötes reminds us that abundance is not universal. Most of the cosmos is silent, most of it empty, most of it unreachable. To know this is not to diminish our significance, but to expand it. For we are not only creatures of presence, but of understanding. We can find meaning even in what is not. There is a haunting beauty in imagining a journey through Boötes. Drifting into its center, the sky would grow emptier with every passing million light years. Galaxies would thin until only a few faint smudges remained. The silence would be overwhelming, the loneliness absolute. And yet, even there, your own galaxy would shine. Even there, stars would burn, planets would orbit, light would persist. The void does not erase existence. It frames it. Its silence makes every spark of light more precious. This is perhaps Boötes' greatest lesson, that nothingness is not the opposite of meaning, but its partner. Without silence, there is no music. Without emptiness, there is no form. Without Boötes, there is no web. The Boötes void is not failure but foundation, not absence but essence. From a cosmic perspective, Boötes is also prophecy. As dark energy accelerates expansion, voids will grow. Filaments will thin, clusters will shrink, galaxies will retreat beyond each other's horizons. The far future of the universe will resemble Boötes more than it resembles today. Vast, silent, empty. To study Boötes now is to see the face of the cosmos to come. It is not anomaly but preview. And still, the void is beautiful. Its silence is eloquent, its emptiness profound. It humbles us, challenges us, expands us. It teaches that the universe is not built for comfort but for truth, and that truth is deeper than comfort, wider than imagination, grander than fear. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is everything absence can be: structure, balance, prophecy, and meaning. It is the universe itself, speaking in silence. The Boötes void is vast enough to hold entire superclusters and still appear bare. And yet, calling it empty is misleading. Within its darkness lies a quiet framework, faint threads of dark matter, sparse galaxies, and the eternal expansion of space. To human eyes, it is absence. To the universe, it is structure. This paradox is what makes Boötes so compelling. It is not a whole carved in error, but an inevitable consequence of how matter and energy distribute themselves across infinity. When cosmologists run their simulations of the universe's evolution, voids are not rare glitches. They are the dominant feature. Galaxies, filaments, and clusters occupy only the surface of this grand foam. The interior is void. Boötes simply stands at the extreme, a bubble so large that it commands attention. Its size makes it not only impressive but crucial. The behavior of such giants places tight constraints on cosmological models. If Boötes were significantly larger or smaller, it might mean our physics was incomplete. In this way, emptiness itself tests our grasp of reality. Its geometry reveals yet more. Boötes' spherical shape is unusual, a sign that its initial underdensity was especially uniform. This roundness is a cosmic clue, an imprint of processes that occurred in the universe's first fraction of a second. Inflation did not smooth everything equally. It seeded fluctuations. Some became clusters, others voids. Boötes is a bubble inflated from one of those primordial seeds, preserved across billions of years, a fossil not of matter but of silence. To trace its boundaries is to touch the handwriting of creation. The galaxies within Boötes are survivors of solitude. Their existence is a testament to resilience. Without neighbors to merge with, they remain small and faint. Some hold onto pristine gas, unpolluted by heavy elements from nearby explosions. Others drift in irregular shapes, never sculpted into spirals or ellipticals by collisions. They are archives of what galaxies might look like in alternate histories, living examples of evolution without disturbance. Boötes is less a desert than a library of lonely galaxies, each one a fragile book telling a different version of the story of stars. The contrast between Boötes' silence and the crowded edges of the cosmic web sharpens our sense of cosmic rhythm. At its periphery lie some of the brightest regions of the known universe: the Hercules supercluster, the Sloan Great Wall. These dense walls of galaxies blaze with interaction, with collisions, with the drama of abundance. Beyond them, Boötes yawns with quiet. The juxtaposition is almost poetic. Light pressed against darkness, noise against silence, abundance against scarcity. The universe composes itself in contrasts, and Boötes is its boldest stanza. From Earth, our perspective is shaped by abundance. Our skies are filled with stars. Our telescopes reveal galaxies in every direction. We imagine the cosmos as crowded, as lively. Boötes reminds us this is illusion. The true universe is dominated by silence. Galaxies are the exceptions, not the rule. We are fortunate to live in one, fortunate to glimpse others. Had we been born in Boötes, our sense of reality would be narrower. Our myths might speak of isolation. Our science might never guess at the vastness beyond. Boötes shows us how fragile perspective is, how easily knowledge can be bounded by circumstance. The Boötes void is also a preview of the universe's fate. As dark energy accelerates expansion, voids grow faster than filaments. Over time, the web will thin, clusters will separate, and galaxies will vanish beyond one another's horizons. The far future will look more like Boötes than like our present sky, isolated islands of light adrift in endless dark. Boötes is not anomaly but destiny. It is the future, written in silence today. And yet, even in silence, beauty persists. Boötes is beautiful not because it comforts us, but because it challenges us. It forces us to abandon our instinct for fullness and embrace absence as part of creation. It shows us that meaning is not confined to what shines. Meaning exists also in what does not. Boötes is not failure but foundation. It is the pause that allows the universe's music to resonate, the shadow that makes its light visible, the emptiness that gives its form coherence. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the universe itself, expressed in its most austere form. It is silence with geometry, emptiness with history, absence with meaning. To contemplate it is to understand that nothingness, too, is part of creation. The Boötes void stands as a reminder that the universe is not uniformly generous. It does not spread its galaxies evenly, nor distribute its light fairly. It gathers in some places and withdraws in others. What we see as a pattern of filaments and voids is, in fact, the natural consequence of this unevenness. Boötes is the most dramatic example of the universe's selective generosity. A cosmic cavern, a hollow bubble, framed by walls so rich that they accentuate the silence within. Scientists often describe the cosmic web as resembling foam. Galaxies line the surfaces, while voids fill the interior. Boötes is one of the largest bubbles in this foam, and its presence is not arbitrary. It reflects the mathematics of growth. Where density was low in the beginning, matter flowed away, leaving behind emptiness. That emptiness expanded faster than its surroundings, carving Boötes into being. It is the universe's natural architecture, structure born not from design but from the quiet unfolding of gravity and expansion. To map the Boötes void is to reveal how space itself bends under scarcity. Galaxies at its edge move differently than those in denser regions, flowing outward more rapidly, carried by the void's underdensity. This flow allows astronomers to test cosmic expansion with exquisite precision. Boötes acts like a natural laboratory where space reveals its elasticity. In its hollowness, we glimpse the universe stretching, not metaphorically but physically, in measurable ways. The spherical shape continues to puzzle. Few voids achieve such symmetry, most being distorted by the pull of surrounding filaments. Boötes, by contrast, is remarkably round. This suggests that its initial conditions were unusually smooth, a near-perfect underdensity magnified across eons. Such symmetry may hold clues about inflation, the era when space itself ballooned faster than the speed of light. Boötes is not just a hollow. It is a fossilized bubble of the first moments of existence, preserved in the vastness of today. Inside the void, galaxies whisper of solitude. Their faint light betrays long histories of isolation. Without neighbors, they avoid the violent mergers that sculpt larger systems. Instead, they evolve slowly, some retaining their gas for billions of years. Others remain dwarfs, irregular and incomplete, untouched by the violence of cosmic cities. These galaxies are like hermits on distant mountaintops, obscure, rare, and yet full of secrets that cannot be found elsewhere. In them lies the possibility of discovering how galaxies behave when left almost entirely alone. At the boundaries, however, Boötes blazes with abundance. Superclusters crowd the rim, glowing arcs of matter pressed together by the void's expansion. These edges are cosmic shores, where the tide of absence meets the land of presence. Boötes is not isolated. It is defined by this contrast. Without the rim, the hollow would be invisible. Without the hollow, the rim would lose its meaning. They exist in partnership, each amplifying the other. Philosophically, Boötes is the cosmos daring us to accept absence as truth. We often imagine nothingness as unnatural, as though emptiness were a failure of creation. But Boötes insists that emptiness is part of creation. It is not a mistake but a masterpiece. Its silence is not absence of meaning but another form of meaning, one that challenges us to listen differently. To fear Boötes is to fear the natural state of the universe. To embrace Boötes is to understand that emptiness is not a void to be filled, but a truth to be acknowledged. The Boötes void is also a vision of tomorrow. As the universe ages, voids expand, filaments thin, and galaxies drift apart. In the far future, the universe will look more like Boötes than like our present sky. Sparse, dark, solitary. Observers in that era may see only their local cluster, the rest of creation hidden forever beyond horizons. For them, the cosmic web will be unknowable, its richness erased by time. Boötes today is our window into that destiny. It is the future already visible, a prophecy written in absence. Yet Boötes is not despair. The silence is not an erasure but a revelation. It reveals the fragility of abundance, the necessity of contrast, the beauty of stillness. It teaches us that meaning is not found only in light, but also in darkness. That knowledge comes not only from presence, but also from absence. That the universe speaks in silence as clearly as it speaks in sound. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the universe's negative space, a cathedral of emptiness, a bubble inflated from the first instant of time, still growing, still shaping, still speaking. To contemplate it is to feel small, yes, but also to feel vast, for our minds can cross its silence, map its scale, and turn emptiness into understanding. The Boötes void is more than an astronomical discovery. It is a lens through which we see the hidden structure of everything. Its immensity forces us to confront the mathematics of absence, the way gravity and expansion sculpt the universe into patterns of contrast. It reminds us that emptiness is not failure, but function. Without it, galaxies would have no form, the cosmic web no coherence, our understanding no anchor. In modern cosmology, Boötes is treated not as an outlier but as a standard by which to measure theory. Its dimensions are compared against simulations, its galaxies catalogued as case studies, its geometry analyzed for clues about the earliest seconds of time. Each result confirms a paradox. Silence contains more information than sound. The void tells us not only what is missing, but why the rest exists as it does. Consider again its scale: 330 million light-years. Light that left the edge of Boötes when the first trees on Earth were only beginning their climb skyward has still not crossed its width. To traverse it is to traverse time itself, to feel the weight of epochs compressed into darkness. Human history is smaller than a fraction of this silence. And yet, here we are, mapping it, naming it, giving it meaning. That act is staggering. The Boötes void humbles us, but it also elevates us, for we are not only small, we are aware. These galaxies, though rare, whisper resilience. In their faint glow lies evidence that solitude need not mean extinction. Some still form stars from ancient reserves of gas, their disks turning slowly in the silence. Others preserve chemical purity, untouched by the heavy elements common in crowded clusters. These galaxies are fossils and laboratories at once, relics of what was, experiments in what could be. To find them is to find life where we least expect it. Not loud, not abundant, but stubborn, enduring. At its rim, Boötes is bordered by some of the most luminous structures ever mapped, superclusters stitched into colossal walls. These glowing borders press against the void like the skin of a drum, resonating with the silence within. Boötes is not absence floating in isolation. It is contrast embodied. Brightness amplifying darkness, silence sharpening song, emptiness defining form. But perhaps the deepest lesson of Boötes is philosophical. We imagine the universe as fullness because our senses crave presence. Yet the cosmos insists on absence. Most of it is void. Boötes, by standing as one of the largest such voids, forces us to accept that reality is not what we wish but what it is. And what it is includes silence, emptiness, and loneliness on scales we can scarcely endure. To know Boötes is to accept that the universe is not designed to comfort us, but to astonish us. Still, astonishment is enough. The Boötes void, though silent, speaks. It speaks of beginnings, when inflation seeded the pattern of voids and filaments. It speaks of the present, where galaxies endure in solitude while clusters collide at its rim. And it speaks of the future, when voids like Boötes will grow until they dominate the universe, leaving only scattered islands of light in an ocean of dark. Boötes is not anomaly but destiny, not mistake but prophecy. And yet, within that prophecy, meaning remains. For even as the void grows, we continue to map it, measure it, and tell its story. We transform absence into understanding, silence into narrative, emptiness into wonder. Boötes is not only a feature of the universe, it is a feature of us. It reveals that our capacity to find meaning is greater than the silence that surrounds us. So what is the Boötes void? It is a chamber of silence, a cathedral of emptiness, a relic of beginnings, a forecast of endings. It is the pause in the cosmic symphony, the negative space in the painting of creation, the shadow that makes light visible. It is the universe reminding us that nothing is never nothing. Nothing is structure, balance, and beauty. The Boötes void is not absence. It is presence in another form, vast, silent, eloquent. And in contemplating it, we discover not despair, but wonder. The Boötes void is often described as a hole in the universe, but that description oversimplifies. A hole suggests absence of substance, a gap carved into what should be whole. The Boötes void is not a gap. It is part of the fabric itself, a natural chamber of emptiness, woven into the web of galaxies by gravity, dark matter, and time. Its existence is not disruption but design, not accident but inevitability. For astronomers, Boötes is more than an emptiness to be catalogued. It is an amplifier of subtle forces. Light crossing the void is stretched, its wavelength redshifted ever so slightly by the accelerated expansion inside. This phenomenon, known as the integrated Sachs-Wolf effect, allows scientists to test dark energy directly. Boötes, by its sheer size, magnifies the signal. Silence becomes an experiment. Nothingness becomes a measurement. Its role in cosmic history is profound. In the early universe, density variations were tiny, 1 part in 100,000. But gravity is relentless, and over billions of years, those differences grew. Matter flowed into denser regions, leaving the sparse even emptier. Boötes is the echo of that process. A whisper of quantum fluctuations inflated into a cathedral of silence. It is the proof that the universe does not forget its beginnings. Every structure, even absence, carries memory. The galaxies within Boötes are testimonies to this memory. They are not ordinary galaxies. Many are dwarfs, faint and irregular, with low star formation rates. Some are chemically primitive, preserving the compositions of earlier times. Others are stretched and asymmetric, as though their solitude has allowed them to drift into eccentric shapes. These galaxies are more than outliers. They are keys, revealing what happens when evolution is stripped of external influence. They are laboratories of cosmic solitude. From a human perspective, Boötes is both terrifying and fascinating. Terrifying because its silence dwarfs all scales we know. Fascinating because our minds can reach across it, even if our bodies never could. To imagine Boötes is to imagine light itself taking hundreds of millions of years to cross its width, longer than the entire history of complex life on Earth. This stretch of time defies comprehension, and yet we comprehend it. That act is itself a miracle of consciousness. The Boötes void also reframes our understanding of destiny. The cosmic web as we know it will not last. Expansion, driven by dark energy, will thin the filaments, scatter the clusters, and magnify the voids. In the distant future, the universe will be mostly emptiness. Boötes is a preview, a window into tomorrow. What feels like anomaly today is, in fact, the template for the cosmos to come. Boötes is not a mistake. It is prophecy. Still, the Boötes void is not despair. The silence is not void of meaning. To the contrary, it is a reminder that absence is as essential as presence. Music requires silence to have rhythm. Images require darkness to have form. The cosmos requires voids to have structure. Boötes is the most dramatic demonstration of this truth. It is not what the universe lacks. It is what the universe is. If we could travel into its depths, we would find not chaos but serenity. The sky would darken, galaxies thinning until only a few pinpricks remained. Time would feel slower, direction meaningless. Yet even in that solitude, stars would burn, planets would orbit, light would persist. The void does not erase existence. It frames it. It makes every spark precious. And so Boötes is more than a scientific object. It is a philosophical teacher. It shows us that silence is not negation but expression, that emptiness is not failure but foundation. It tells us that the universe is not built to comfort us, but to challenge us, and that in challenge lies wonder. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the eloquence of nothing, written across hundreds of millions of light years. The Boötes void is a monument to contrast. To look at it is to see how the universe balances fullness with absence, light with dark, structure with silence. Without Boötes, the filaments of galaxies would appear less defined, their arcs less striking. It is the emptiness that sharpens the edges of abundance, the hollow that gives the walls their grandeur. The void is not the absence of design, it is part of the design. Astrophysicists often refer to voids as cosmic laboratories. Their value lies in clarity. In crowded regions, gravity, mergers, and starbursts complicate analysis. In voids, the physics is cleaner. Expansion dominates. The faint galaxies evolve slowly, relatively undisturbed. Boötes, by virtue of its immense scale, provides the clearest laboratory of all. Every photon crossing it records the stretch of space. Every galaxy within it records the life of solitude. The Boötes void is not a blank. It is an experiment running for billions of years. Its impact on cosmology is immense. Voids like Boötes help refine the parameters of dark energy, constrain the nature of dark matter, and test modifications of gravity. If any new physics is hiding at cosmic scales, voids will reveal it first. Their emptiness magnifies differences, amplifies anomalies, makes subtle effects visible. Boötes is the universe's magnifying glass, a place where silence speaks louder than abundance. The geometry of Boötes is also profound. Its near-spherical shape hints at symmetry in the primordial fluctuations that seeded it. It is as though the first moments of inflation left behind a bubble of absence, inflated across time to become a cathedral of silence. Its roundness is a fossil of beginnings, preserved not in rock or bone but in spacetime itself. Boötes is archaeology on the grandest scale, digging not into Earth's past, but into the cosmos's first breath. The galaxies that persist inside Boötes are like desert oases, improbable, fragile, yet real. Some are dwarfs, faint and diffuse. Others are strangely extended, with disks stretching beyond what seems natural. Their star formation rates differ from those in clusters. Their chemical signatures preserve clues from earlier eras. They are rare, but in their rarity lies significance. Each one is a case study in survival, each one a reminder that solitude is not sterility. At the edges of Boötes, the story changes. There, galaxies crowd into massive walls, their density exaggerated by the void's expansion. These boundaries glow like cosmic scars, sharp divisions between silence and sound. They remind us that the universe is not uniform but structured, that contrast is the essence of creation. Without voids, there would be no walls. Without silence, there would be no music. Boötes is also a reminder of time scale. Light takes 330 million years to cross it. That is longer than the time it took for mammals to evolve from tiny nocturnal creatures into the dominant life on Earth. Longer than the span from the first forests to modern humanity. Longer than the rise and fall of mountains, oceans, and civilizations combined. Boötes is not simply space. It is time stretched into emptiness. To look at it is to feel the weight of epochs, to know that even silence has history. From a philosophical perspective, Boötes speaks of humility. It teaches that most of the universe is not built for life, nor even for light. It reminds us that our place, in a galaxy rich with neighbors, is not guaranteed but fortunate. It challenges us to see that perspective is fragile, that knowledge depends on vantage. Had we arisen in Boötes, we might never have known the universe's true scale. Our science might have ended at our own horizon. Boötes teaches us gratitude for our place and empathy for the possibilities of others. Yet it also inspires wonder, for even in emptiness, beauty persists. Boötes is not barren. It is austere, minimal, sublime. It is the cosmos in its most stripped form, speaking not with abundance but with silence. To contemplate it is to expand imagination, to accept that beauty is not always crowded with light. Sometimes beauty is the absence that gives light its meaning. And in contemplating Boötes, we glimpse the future. As dark energy continues its relentless push, voids will grow. Filaments will thin, clusters will retreat, galaxies will disappear beyond one another's horizons. The universe will become Boötes writ large, vast, dark, silent. To study it now is to see tomorrow. To map it now is to understand our fate. But fate is not despair. Even in silence, meaning endures. Even in emptiness, knowledge persists. Even in absence, wonder thrives. The Boötes void is not the death of significance, but the expansion of it. It shows us that nothingness itself can be profound, that silence itself can be eloquent, that absence itself can be beautiful. The Boötes void is not empty. It is full of lessons, full of memory, full of prophecy. It is the universe speaking in its quietest voice, and perhaps its most profound. The Boötes void may seem like a singular marvel, but it is also part of a larger cosmic rhythm. The universe is a network of contrasts. Glowing filaments of galaxies woven around vast hollows. Boötes is one of the greatest of these hollows. And in its immensity we see not accident but inevitability. For the cosmos is not uniform. It is textured, sculpted by gravity and expansion into a pattern more intricate than any lattice we might build. Boötes is one of the deepest notes in that pattern, a bassline of silence beneath the melody of galaxies. Cosmologists treat voids as precision tools. Because they are regions of low density, they respond differently to the pull of gravity and the push of dark energy. Their rate of growth, their shapes, their influence on light all serve as tests of fundamental physics. Boötes, being extreme in size, is one of the sharpest such tools. Its existence confirms that dark matter must dominate, that inflation must have seeded initial variations, and that dark energy must now be stretching space. Silence here is as conclusive as evidence can be. Even its few galaxies speak volumes. Without the constant harassment of neighbors, they grow in solitude. Many remain small, but in that smallness lies purity. Their gas is less enriched, their disks less disturbed, their histories less chaotic. To observe them is to peer into alternate pathways of galactic life, into what might have been if our Milky Way had been born in silence instead of a web. These galaxies are fragile, but they are also precious. They remind us that creation adapts, even in solitude. The Boötes void also challenges our instincts about scale. We are accustomed to measuring life in years, civilizations in centuries, planets in billions. But Boötes forces us into new units. Hundreds of millions of years just to cross its width. Billions of years for its emptiness to grow. Trillions of years for the universe to resemble it entirely. Boötes is time embodied in silence. It is the reminder that our scale of thought must expand if we are to grasp the universe as it is. Philosophically, Boötes speaks of perspective. To us, surrounded by galaxies, the universe feels full. To an observer within Boötes, it would feel barren. Their myths would describe isolation. Their science might conclude finality, their vision of reality bounded by absence. The difference lies not in truth, but in vantage. Boötes is a mirror that shows us how knowledge itself is shaped by position, how what we see is never the whole, but always a fragment. In human thought, nothingness has always carried weight. We fear it, we contemplate it, we turn it into art. The Boötes void magnifies that contemplation beyond imagination. It is nothingness given form, emptiness given geometry. And yet, far from being meaningless, it proves to be essential. Without Boötes, there is no web. Without silence, there is no song. The void is not the opposite of creation. It is the condition that makes creation possible. At its edges, Boötes is framed by colossal walls of galaxies. These walls blaze with abundance, while the interior yawns with absence. The contrast is stark, like light pressed against shadow. This juxtaposition is the essence of cosmic beauty. the recognition that extremes coexist, that opposites define one another, that truth lies in tension. The Boötes void is not only a structure in space but a lesson in duality. And in its destiny, Boötes becomes prophecy. For as the universe continues to expand, voids will grow. What is today an extreme will tomorrow be the norm. Boötes is a vision of the cosmos to come, sparse, silent, solitary. But this is not tragedy. It is transformation. For even in that silence, galaxies will endure, stars will burn, and thought, somewhere, may persist. Boötes is not the end of meaning, but the widening of it. To contemplate the Boötes void is to expand ourselves. It is to accept that silence is not emptiness, but eloquence. That absence is not nothing, but form. That the universe is not designed to comfort us, but to astonish us. Boötes is astonishment carved in space-time, silence given scale, emptiness turned into revelation. The Boötes void is often called the Great Nothing, but the phrase misleads. For even nothing has structure, even silence has resonance. Boötes is not blank. It is patterned absence, emptiness sculpted by laws of physics as universal as those that govern galaxies and stars. It is a hollow that reveals design not in its presence but in its lack. To call it nothing is to overlook the complexity of its silence. Cosmologists now know that most of the universe is composed of such voids. They fill the majority of cosmic volume, while galaxies trace the thin surfaces between them. If the universe is a sponge of matter and energy, Boötes is one of its largest bubbles, its sheer scale making it stand out against the rest. By studying it, we learn not only about Boötes but about the universal rhythm of abundance and absence, the balance that defines creation. Boötes is also a living example of how the universe evolves. Over billions of years, matter has flowed away from its interior toward its walls, leaving it ever emptier. That flow continues today. Its borders blaze with superclusters drawn tighter by gravity, while its center grows darker as galaxies drift outward. The void is dynamic, not static. It is a process as much as a place, a living record of cosmic history unfolding in silence. Inside, the galaxies that remain reveal resilience in isolation. Some burn faintly, their gas stretched thin across time. Others are surprisingly rich in raw material, still forming stars at a steady pace. Their diversity tells us that solitude is not uniform, that even within silence there are many stories. Each galaxy is a survivor of a different kind of emptiness, a solitary witness to billions of years of expansion. For us, Boötes also reframes imagination. We are accustomed to seeing the universe as vast and crowded, stars in every direction, galaxies everywhere our telescopes point. Boötes insists on another truth. Most of the universe is silence. Most of the universe is absence. What we call abundance is the exception, not the rule. To know Boötes is to realize that our perspective is lucky, not inevitable. It is to feel gratitude for skies rich with stars, gratitude sharpened by the knowledge that other skies might be almost bare. Philosophically, Boötes reminds us that nothingness is not void of meaning but pregnant with it. In human life, silence can be terrifying, but it can also be profound. Boötes is that silence on a cosmic scale. It is a cathedral not of stone but of absence, where meaning is not shouted but whispered. To stand in its center, even in imagination, is to confront the immensity of solitude and discover that even solitude carries beauty. And Boötes is not anomaly but prophecy. As the universe continues to accelerate in its expansion, voids will grow, filaments will thin, clusters will scatter, horizons will shrink. The far future universe will look more like Boötes than like our present sky, sparse, silent, solitary. To study Boötes today is to glimpse tomorrow. It is the future revealed in advance, a vision of what awaits all galaxies, a cosmos increasingly defined by emptiness. Yet even in that emptiness, meaning endures. For Boötes teaches that absence is not negation but frame, that silence is not erasure but rhythm, that nothing is never truly nothing. In its immensity, It tells us that the universe is not built to comfort us but to expand us, not to reassure us but to astonish us. So let us name Boötes not the great nothing, but the great silence. A silence filled with knowledge, a silence filled with prophecy, a silence that gives meaning to every star. The Boötes void is more than a vast hollow. It is a challenge to the way we define reality. We instinctively look for what is there, galaxies, stars, light, and dismiss what is not. But the Boötes void insists that absence is as real as presence. Its immensity is measurable, its shape definable, its influence undeniable. Emptiness in Boötes is not illusion. It is substance of another kind, invisible, silent, yet powerful. Astronomers study Boötes not simply to marvel at its size, but to decode its story. That story begins in the earliest moments of the universe, when quantum fluctuations were stretched across spacetime by inflation. Some regions were slightly denser, others slightly emptier. Gravity amplified the differences. Dense regions grew into filaments, clusters, superclusters. Sparse regions became voids. Boötes is one of the grandest of these sparse regions, a cavern expanded by billions of years of cosmic breathing. It is a relic of the first second of time, preserved in silence. Boötes also sharpens our understanding of how galaxies live and die. In clusters, galaxies collide and merge, triggering bursts of star formation. Their evolution is violent, chaotic, accelerated. In Boötes, galaxies drift in solitude, free from collisions, evolving slowly, almost cautiously. Their histories stretch like thin threads across billions of years. Studying them reveals how environment shapes destiny. It shows us that galaxies, like living things, are products of context as much as of origin. At the void's edges, abundance presses against absence. The Hercules supercluster and other massive walls of galaxies form glowing boundaries, crowded arcs marking the transition from silence to sound. These borders are as important as the void itself. They prove that Boötes is not a mistake but a contrast. Without walls, there is no hollow. Without hollow, there is no wall. The Boötes void exists not in isolation but in relationship, a reminder that opposites give each other meaning. But Boötes also provokes deeper questions. If we imagine life evolving inside one of its few galaxies, what would their skies reveal? Their heavens would be almost bare, with only a handful of faint galaxies visible beyond their stars. Their scientists might conclude that the universe is small. Their philosophers might write of loneliness. Their myths might speak of isolation. Boötes reminds us how much knowledge depends on vantage, how fragile truth is when filtered through perspective. Its role in modern cosmology is critical. By measuring how voids like Boötes expand, astronomers test whether dark energy behaves as Einstein predicted or whether it evolves across time. By mapping galaxies within, we trace the invisible scaffolding of dark matter. By analyzing its shape, we search for signatures of the inflationary epoch. Boötes is more than emptiness. It is a key to unlocking the deepest mysteries of physics. And then comes time. To cross Boötes at light speed would take 330 million years. In that time, continents drift, mountains rise and fall, species appear and vanish, civilizations rise and crumble. History becomes trivial in the face of such duration. Boötes is time slowed into silence, a reminder that our scale is not the universe's scale. We are sparks in a storm of epochs, and Boötes is the storm's silence. Yet silence is not despair. Boötes shows us that absence has beauty. Its emptiness is not void but symmetry. Its darkness not erasure but rhythm. It is the cosmos reminding us that creation is not always crowded, that sometimes meaning lies in the spaces between. Boötes is not failure but foundation, not lack but lesson. The future of the universe will resemble Boötes more than our present sky. As dark energy continues to drive expansion, voids will grow, filaments will stretch, galaxies will slip beyond horizons. The universe will become emptier, lonelier, quieter. Boötes is not anomaly but prophecy, a glimpse of tomorrow visible today. But even in that tomorrow, light will endure. Stars will burn, galaxies will glow, thought will persist, at least for a time. Boötes tells us that even silence carries song, even emptiness carries meaning, even nothingness can be beautiful. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the universe in its most austere form, eloquent, symmetrical, profound. To contemplate it is to learn that absence is part of creation, silence part of truth, and nothing part of everything. The Boötes void stands as a monument to the universe's commitment to extremes. Where matter has gathered into clusters and filaments, the universe seems exuberant, overflowing with galaxies, black holes, and the glow of countless stars. But where matter has fled, the emptiness is just as dramatic. Boötes is that drama of absence, an arena where silence itself becomes visible. It is not the absence of creation, but the opposite face of creation, as essential as the galaxies that blaze along its rim. Cosmologists have come to appreciate that voids, though quiet, are the largest structures in the universe. They occupy more volume than all clusters and filaments combined. Boötes, by dwarfing almost every other void, is the most striking example of this dominance. If one seeks to understand the true shape of the cosmos, one must not look only at what shines. One must look at what does not. Boötes is the canvas. Galaxies are the paint. The galaxies that linger within Boötes tell a subtler story. Many are isolated dwarfs, their light faint, their structures irregular. Some show traces of ongoing star formation, fueled by reservoirs of gas unperturbed by neighbors. Others preserve chemical simplicity, a kind of primordial purity rare in crowded regions. Each one is a relic, a survivor, a unique experiment in cosmic solitude. In their silence, they are more than curiosities. They are windows into the paths galaxies might have taken if left alone. The roundness of Boötes continues to intrigue. Why should such an immense region be so symmetrical? Most voids are stretched and irregular, their shapes distorted by the tug of surrounding matter. Boötes, however, is nearly spherical. This symmetry may be the fingerprint of the earliest fluctuations of spacetime itself, a bubble seeded in the first instant of inflation, preserved across billions of years. Its geometry is not random. It is history carved into emptiness. Boötes also plays a central role in how we measure the universe today. When light from the cosmic microwave background passes through it, the expansion of the void alters the light's energy. This subtle shift, detected with precision instruments, confirms the action of dark energy across vast distances. In this way, Boötes becomes a laboratory for forces invisible to the eye. Silence becomes signal, emptiness becomes evidence. For humans, Boötes is both alien and familiar. Alien, because nothing in our daily lives prepares us for such scale, such absence, such silence. Familiar, because we know emptiness in other forms. The pause in music, the silence of night, the breath between words. Boötes is these familiar silences magnified beyond imagination. It resonates with us because absence has always been part of meaning. If one were to imagine standing on a planet within Boötes, the sky would feel unbearably sparse. Only the stars of your own galaxy would dominate. Beyond them, perhaps one or two faint galaxies might be visible, nothing like the rich skies of our Milky Way. The sense of isolation would be profound. Perhaps such an environment would stifle curiosity, or perhaps it would ignite imagination, pushing minds to dream of what they cannot see. Boötes is a thought experiment in perspective, showing us how environment shapes not only galaxies but consciousness. Philosophically, Boötes teaches humility. We are used to thinking of the universe as overflowing with light, and ourselves as capable of grasping it. But Boötes reminds us that most of existence is silence, most of reality is absence, most of space is void. We live in the rare exception, not the rule. Our skies are crowded because of fortune, not necessity. Gratitude is the proper response, gratitude sharpened by the knowledge that in most of the cosmos, there would be nothing to see. And yet, Boötes also inspires awe, for its silence is not sterile, but profound. Its emptiness is not erasure, but balance. Its darkness is not meaningless, but eloquent. It tells us that the universe is not built to flatter us but to astonish us. It dares us to imagine scales we cannot inhabit, to accept truths we cannot soften, to find beauty where we expect none. The Boötes void is not the absence of reality. It is reality written in negative space. It is the pause in the cosmic symphony, the hollow in the sculpture of creation, the silence that makes the universe's music resonate. To contemplate it is not to fear nothing, but to embrace everything. The Boötes void is more than a hollow in the night sky. It is a reminder that the universe itself is a work of contrasts, sculpted as much by silence as by sound. Where galaxies cluster into luminous webs, Boötes counterbalances with darkness. Where stars blaze in crowded arcs, Boötes stretches with emptiness. It is not an interruption in the pattern but the very essence of the pattern, the space that allows form to exist. Astrophysicists often speak of voids as cosmic laboratories, and Boötes is the grandest of them all. Its vastness magnifies the influence of dark energy, allowing us to observe expansion on the largest scales. Its roundness preserves clues about the earliest fluctuations of spacetime. Its faint galaxies demonstrate how evolution unfolds without neighbors. Every detail of Boötes is a data point, every silence a measurement, every absence a fact. In it, the invisible becomes visible not through light but through lack of light. The void is not static. It grows as the universe grows, its walls tightening as matter flows outward, its interior thinning with every passing epoch. The Boötes void today is larger than it was a billion years ago, and smaller than it will be a billion years hence. To study it is to glimpse a moving target, a hollow that breathes with the expansion of the cosmos. It is not absence frozen, but absence alive. Its destiny mirrors that of the universe itself. As dark energy drives acceleration, voids will merge, filaments will unravel, and galaxies will drift beyond reach. The cosmos will become emptier with time, until Boötes is not anomaly but norm. What we see now in one hollow chamber will one day describe the whole. A universe of silence, dotted only with isolated sparks. Boötes is not merely present fact, it is future revealed. For humanity, the Boötes void is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because it shows how small we are, how brief, how fragile in the face of such scale. Empowering because despite our smallness, we can comprehend it. From a planet orbiting an ordinary star, we can measure a hollow hundreds of millions of light-years wide, trace its geometry, interpret its silence. That act of comprehension is itself a triumph, proof that meaning can arise even where matter is scarce. Philosophically, Boötes asks us to reconsider our relationship with nothingness. We often fear absence, equating it with loss. But the void shows that absence is as real, as necessary as presence. Silence gives music rhythm. Shadows give images depth. Emptiness gives galaxies form. Boötes is this principle carved into spacetime, reminding us that nothingness is not the opposite of being but part of being. If we imagine a civilization within Boötes, we glimpse another lesson. Their night skies would be nearly bare. Their cosmology might never guess at the richness beyond. Their myths would likely speak of solitude. And yet, their stars would still burn. Their planets would still orbit. Their lives would still matter. Even in emptiness, existence persists. Boötes is proof that even in silence, stories are written. And so the Boötes void is not a hole in the universe but the universe itself, expressed in its most austere form. It is a cathedral of emptiness, a relic of beginnings, a prophecy of endings. It is silence, but silence full of meaning. To contemplate it is to be reminded that the cosmos is not built to comfort us, but to expand us. That astonishment, not reassurance, is its greatest gift. That even in the largest silence ever measured, wonder survives. The Boötes void is not nothing. It is the eloquence of nothing, and in that eloquence, we hear the voice of the universe. The Boötes void is often described as silence given form, but it is also motion concealed in stillness. Though it appears as a static hollow, the galaxies along its edges are not fixed. They flow outward, drawn by the expansion of space itself. The void grows with time, its boundaries stretching farther, its interior thinning further. It is a living structure, not an empty wound but a dynamic breath of the universe. Cosmologists have realized that voids are the majority rulers of space. Clusters and filaments, magnificent as they are, occupy only a fraction of cosmic volume. The rest is void. Boötes is the largest of these chambers, a cavern in the grand foam of the universe. Its immensity makes it more than a curiosity. It is a keystone of cosmology, one of the clearest tests of how well our models describe reality. If the Boötes void were significantly different in size or structure, our understanding of dark matter, inflation, and dark energy would need to be rewritten. What fascinates scientists most are the galaxies within Boötes, rare, faint, scattered like embers across a cold hearth. They are not luminous spirals or massive ellipticals, but fragile dwarfs and irregulars, systems that reveal resilience in solitude. Some burn their stars slowly, preserving fuel for epochs. Others retain pristine gas, untainted by heavy elements. These galaxies are not weak. They are survivors. They show how isolation produces unique forms, how the absence of neighbors can preserve what density would destroy. The borders of Boötes blaze with contrast. The Hercules supercluster and other massive walls outline the void like ridges around a crater. There, galaxies collide, merge, ignite starbursts, and feed supermassive black holes. Just beyond, silence dominates. The juxtaposition is stark. Abundance pressed against absence, noise pressed against quiet. This contrast is not only beautiful but revealing. It shows how structure depends on opposition, how presence depends on absence, how the web exists because the voids insist upon it. For humans, Boötes serves as a lesson in perspective. Our skies are crowded. Our telescopes reveal galaxies in every direction. We imagine the universe as overflowing. Boötes corrects that illusion. Most of reality is emptiness. Most of existence is silence. Our view is exceptional, not universal. Boötes reminds us to be grateful for abundance, to recognize how fragile our perspective is, and to accept that truth is not defined by what comforts us but by what is. Its significance to cosmology extends beyond awe. Boötes is a tool. By measuring how it expands, we constrain the nature of dark energy. By mapping its galaxies, we trace the hidden scaffolding of dark matter. By analyzing its roundness, we test theories of the early universe. Silence becomes evidence. Emptiness becomes experiment. Boötes is not nothing. It is data. Yet, the philosophical weight of Boötes may be even greater. It forces us to see absence not as void of meaning but as essential to meaning. Music without silence is chaos. Images without shadow are flat. The universe without voids would be shapeless. Boötes is the boldest reminder that nothingness is not the opposite of creation but part of creation. If we imagine standing on a world inside Boötes, the night sky would seem unbearably empty. Beyond the stars of your own galaxy, perhaps a handful of distant galaxies would appear, faint smudges against black. The idea of billions of galaxies would feel absurd. Your science might never guess it, your myths might never dream it. Boötes is a thought experiment in humility, showing how much of knowledge depends not only on curiosity but on environment. And yet, even from Earth, Boötes whispers of destiny. For the universe itself is headed toward emptiness. As dark energy accelerates expansion, voids will grow, filaments will thin, galaxies will drift away. In trillions of years, every observer will live in a sky like Boötes. Sparse, quiet, lonely. What we now call anomaly will become normal. Boötes is not outlier but preview, not mistake but future. But even in that future, meaning will persist. Stars will burn, galaxies will glow, thought may endure. The silence will not erase significance. It will redefine it. Boötes teaches us that even emptiness carries wonder, even nothingness carries truth. The Boötes void is not the end of meaning. It is its expansion. It shows that the universe speaks in silence as eloquently as in sound, that creation includes absence as surely as presence, that astonishment is found not only in what is, but in what is not. The Boötes void is often likened to a scar in the cosmos, a hollow where galaxies should be but are not. Yet scars imply injury, and Boötes is no injury. It is a natural expression of how the universe grows, a hollow born from the same laws that gave rise to galaxies and stars. It is not a wound but a balance, an equilibrium between density and emptiness. When astronomers charted its dimensions, they realized something extraordinary. Boötes is large enough to change the way matter moves around it. Galaxies along its rim feel the tug of the walls and the push of the void. Their trajectories bend as if influenced by something invisible because they are. They respond to the absence of mass as much as to its presence. This is the paradox of Boötes. Emptiness behaves like gravity. Silence acts like force. In simulations of cosmic evolution, voids emerge naturally. They begin as slight underdensities, regions where matter was sparse even in the earliest fluctuations. Over billions of years, those regions emptied further, as gravity drained matter into denser neighbors. The Boötes void is the grandest of these hollows, a bubble of absence inflated by expansion until it became one of the largest known features in the universe. It is a fossil not of matter but of imbalance, magnified across eons. Inside its silence, galaxies endure in solitude. Their histories are fragile, but they are not meaningless. They are laboratories of what it means to evolve without neighbors, archives of processes erased in crowded environments. To study them is to study possibility, the alternate routes the cosmos might take when left alone. In their faint light, we glimpse resilience, persistence, and endurance against emptiness. At its borders, the Boötes void blazes. Massive superclusters outline its edges like glowing reefs surrounding a dark ocean. These walls are crowded, chaotic, bursting with galaxies and activity. The contrast is stark. The richest and poorest regions of the universe pressed together in one vast structure. Boötes teaches that creation is defined not by uniformity but by opposition, that abundance and absence exist in partnership, each amplifying the other. For humanity, Boötes is a mirror. It forces us to ask, what does it mean to live in a cosmos where most of reality is empty? What does it mean that we arose in a galaxy dense with neighbors, rather than in a void where the sky would seem bare? Our myths, our philosophies, our sciences are all shaped by abundance. Boötes reminds us that our perspective is not inevitable but contingent. Could have been otherwise, and if it had, perhaps we would never have known the fullness of the cosmos. Scientifically, Boötes is indispensable. By measuring how voids expand, astronomers constrain the properties of dark energy. By analyzing the galaxies within, they test models of galaxy formation. By comparing its symmetry to simulations, they refine theories of inflation. Boötes is silence transformed into data, emptiness turned into truth. Its value lies not in what it contains, but in what its silence reveals. Philosophically, Boötes is profound. It shows us that nothingness is not the negation of meaning but its partner. Silence makes music possible. Shadows give images depth.
Emptiness frames creation.
Boötes is the universe insisting that absence is as essential as presence. To contemplate it is to accept that nothing is never nothing. It is always something: form, contrast, prophecy. And in contemplating Boötes, we confront destiny. For the future of the universe is Boötes multiplied. As dark energy accelerates expansion, voids will grow, filaments will thin, galaxies will vanish beyond horizons. The cosmos of the far future will resemble the Boötes void. Vast, dark, silent, defined more by emptiness than by light. Boötes is not anomaly but preview, not mistake but map. Yet even in that future, significance will endure. Stars will burn, galaxies will persist, thought may continue. Silence will not erase meaning. It will sharpen it. Boötes is not the end of wonder. It is the beginning of a deeper kind of wonder, one that accepts the universe as it is, not as we wish it to be. The Boötes void is not a hole in the universe. It is the universe, revealed in one of its most dramatic forms. It is a cathedral of silence, a relic of beginnings, a forecast of endings. It is emptiness that proves structure, absence that defines presence, silence that carries meaning. To study it is to map not only the cosmos but ourselves. For Boötes teaches humility, that most of existence is not built for us. It teaches gratitude, that our skies are crowded by fortune, not necessity. It teaches awe, that even in silence, beauty persists. And perhaps this is its greatest gift. Boötes shows us that meaning is not confined to what shines. Meaning exists also in what does not. The universe is not made only of galaxies and stars, but also of the spaces between. The Boötes void is the ultimate expression of that truth. It is not nothing. It is everything absence can be.